Well, good evening, folks, or good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world. Quincy Kane here, and this is live stream number 149. And for this particular stream, we're talking all about songwriting. I think we're mainly going to focus on lyrics. We'll do more sessions like this talking all about songwriting and what goes into that process. Also, let me know how the sound is out there. I feel like I'm not like really loud or something, am I? I don't know if it's just my headphones or something seems a little weird. Hopefully we're okay. Yeah, just let me know how the volume sounds out there, but something's kind of, sounds like I'm really hot in the headphones, so we'll see what's going on. Yeah, let's catch up with the chat. We're going to be talking all about songwriting. I see we've got Jack here, and hey, Silas, good to have you tuning in. Anyone else tuning in, don't be shy, say hello. Jack was saying Plastic Cup is a very relatable song, I suspect, for everyone in some level. Well, I appreciate that, and it's kind of neat that you say that because I think we're going to be talking quite a bit about that song today, since we're going to be talking about lyrics a lot. Silas asking, hey guys, how are you doing? And Jack says his hand's getting better. He had a bit of a fall fairly recently and hurt his hand, but I'm glad to hear it's getting better. Everything will happen as it's meant to. Well, good. Definitely, I'll be praying for you and hoping that feels better soon. Glad it wasn't any worse than it could have been. Okay, good. Yeah, Silas says sounds great. There's a bit of an echo, but okay. It might just be the room because I'm using a different mic than I normally do. I'm using the mic I use for my, so if I go, hey, you can hear the hallway in it. This is the mic that I use whenever I do acoustic segments. And I thought I would pull out the acoustic guitar. I do have my electric here. But since we're talking about songwriting, I do a lot of songwriting on just the acoustic guitar or with my electric guitar unplugged. So I don't actually like plug in and turn on the distortion and start writing. Usually I'll write with just a very simple setup. And once I have a song that I'm excited about, then I'll kind of start experimenting. Like I'll plug in the electric and maybe record something and then start programming some drums. And we'll get into all of that. But let's see here. Yep, just some hellos happening in the chat. Cool. Again, if anyone else is tuning in, don't be shy, say hello. So again, yeah, we're going to be talking about songwriting, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the music part because, ideally you do want some music to write to, but we're going to focus primarily on lyrics, and I'm going to share with you guys some of the things I've learned. Hey, we got Eddie in the chat. Hey, Eddie, hope you're doing well. Let me know how your week's been. Let me know how the weather's going, where you're at. We're starting to get some of that autumn weather here, and it's feeling a lot better. Very nice, cool breeze outside. I actually like that it's getting cooler, especially because I like to get out to the skate park on Saturdays and skateboard, and it is hot. I'm always like just down to my shorts, and and it's just hot. And so that cool breeze is really nice, and it's definitely less draining, and you have a lot more energy to just go for it and skate. Cool. Well, guys, at any point during this segment, again, I'm just going to kind of share my process about songwriting, what I go into it. But if you have any questions, and again, maybe you're trying to write your own songs and so you just need some help with a certain area you're struggling with, or just need some tips and some advice. Maybe you're just curious, maybe you just like music and you're curious what goes into the songwriting process. Maybe you're curious about some of my lyrics, some of my songs, and you have questions about those. Anything, anything about songwriting, about the music or about the lyrics, let me know, and I'll try my best to answer that stuff. Throughout this, I'm going to use some of my songs as an example, and I might show like some, how I come up with ideas and that kind of thing. And we might try to write something on the spot. If that happens, we'll see. To be honest, I kind of have an idea of the structure of how the stream is going to go, but I'm still not entirely sure. I'm definitely excited to just kind of dig in and share with you guys like what went into the song I'm currently working on, Plastic Cup, and I think I'm going to talk about A Mirror That Was Broken. That's a new song of mine that I played for you guys a while back, and I just want to share with you kind of what, I feel like those are my best lyrics currently, so I'm definitely excited to sort of share what I learned going through the process of writing those songs, and hopefully you guys can learn some things too that that will be beneficial to you and your songwriting journey, or just interesting to you if you're curious what goes into that stuff. So Jack saying, "Oi" sounds like a British greetings. And if I recall, Eddie, I think you might be from the UK. I don't know. I know we have some viewers. I think Peter's from the UK. I can't remember if Eddie is as well. No, I think you're from California, if I remember correctly. I think Eddie's in California. So, but yeah, sometimes it's just a rocker thing, just, "Oi, how you doing?" Let's see here. Silas saying, "I'm excited for new songs you'll write. You said Waiting was the last of your older songs." That's correct. And hey, we got Mr. Smith in the chat. Hey, good to see you live. Hey, good to see you too as well, Mr. Smith. Appreciate you tuning in. We're going to be talking all about songwriting, and Mr. Smith definitely does some very creative stuff, so I'd be curious to hear some of his input and stuff. But again, if any of you have any questions, or just about songwriting and stuff, feel free to ask them. Silas is right. The last song I put out was my song Waiting, and it's very interesting because that was the last of my older songs, and now I'm starting to get into new territory. Plastic Cup is probably the first of my newer songs, along with A Mirror That Was Broken and other things to come. And I've definitely grown a lot as an artist since then, so definitely looking forward to what's happening here. Oh, Silas is also from California. I don't think I realized that, but that's cool. Let's see here. Eddie's saying, yeah, pretty cool weather over here in the West. Not so much on the East with the storms. Yeah, people on the East Coast have been dealing with like hurricanes and stuff. So definitely keep your thoughts and prayers on them. And yeah, hopefully everyone's safe, and just hoping, definitely providing for those situations. I know some people, they're looking for, support for a lot of the damage that's been done there. So definitely keep them in your thoughts and prayers and send them some support if you can. And yeah, Eddie's confirming, yes, Cali boy here. Yep, cool. Well, it sounds like you and Silas both. All right, guys, let's get into it. So when it comes to songwriting, where do you even start? Basically what I want to focus on with this stream is you need an idea, but how do you take that rough idea and turn it into an actual song? And one thing I would recommend, like the goal that we're shooting for whenever we're starting a song or any song, you before you confirm or commit to saying, okay, I'm going to make a song out of this idea, you want to work on a chorus first. And once you come up with a good chorus for the song, because the chorus is like the statement, like the main point of the song. And if you get a good chorus, then that really makes it easier to write the rest of the song and sort of navigate how the rest of the song needs to operate. So that's actually something I didn't always write that way, but that's something I've been doing lately, and it's helped me tremendously. We got Chad. Hey, Chad in the chat, sharing out. Thanks for sharing, Chad. Appreciate that. We're talking all about songwriting, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask them, and we'll see what happens. So how do you come up with ideas to begin with? And that's what you want to start with. Like before you even start writing a song, you really just want to focus on gathering a collection of ideas. And you need two ideas. You need some music ideas, and you need some lyrical ideas. So when it comes to music, you can literally just, it might be a cool chord. Like one of my favorite chords is this one. Like I'll teach it to you now. I love that chord. So what it is, it's like a C# 9 thing. So the way you play it, pointer finger on the 4th fret of the A string. And then it's like a power chord, which I'll talk about that too. But 4th fret, and then ring finger on the 6th fret of the next string. It's It's a bit of a stretch, pinky on the 8th fret of the next string, and then you have to hit the open B and E string. So you get, and that's just a beautiful chord. So right there, you guys could take that, you could try that chord, and then just make a little recording. I usually like to use a voice memo app on my phone, and I'll just hit record, and I'll play that chord. Stop, there you go. And what you're doing is, basically you're saying, I like that chord, I'd love to write a song with that chord. And that's all you need, you just need a starting point. And there's a few things you could do with that, like just one chord, you could just say, you know, I could pick it, you know, let's... Maybe I could open. We're already writing a song. Yep, that didn't quite work for me. All right, but maybe we're like, okay, I don't want to pick, I want to strum, so we can just come up with a cool pattern like a... And just off that chord, you can play with it and just kind of see what you come up with. What makes you go, ooh, I liked that. And that's what it is. Whenever you're songwriting, it's almost more like you're discovering the song than actually writing it. So don't treat it like an assignment. Don't be like, I'm gonna write a song. Like, just have fun, just experiment. And that's all you need. Your ideas are just a starting point. So something like a simple chord, you all could take that same chord and come up with different song ideas. Like each of you could write a different song based off of that one chord. So it could be that, it could be a melody. Maybe you just come up with like a... It might be a guitar melody and you're like, ooh, I want to write some chords under that. Or it might be a melody, that could be the vocal. Or something. It could be just a melody. It could be a chord movement. That's kind of what I love. I love like, you know, so say we go, take that first chord and we go here. But then if we go here, ooh, like that's cool. And then back. It could be, you know, we could use some easier chords. Say we go from here and then we change it to a C7. It's like... Maybe you just like that. So we're just collecting, it could be a chord movement, it could be a pattern, it could just be a certain technique, like I want to write a song with tapping in it, or finger picking, I want to write a finger picking song. It could be, maybe you come up with a riff, maybe it's just a rhythm, like maybe you kind of come up with a cool... like a rhythm, and you just want to write, you just need some chords to fill in, you know, it could be anything. So that's all you're doing, and anytime you come up with an idea, you just record it, and you're gathering a collection of ideas, and these are just starting points, and then you just follow the trail and just kind of see where it takes you, and that's kind of what you want to do musically. And we'll talk more about how you come up with those ideas. Now, when it comes to lyrics, it's kind of a similar thing. I think you should have a notes app. It could be, again, the notes app, probably on your phone and maybe on your computer, but just some collection of notes. You could have a journal if you want. Some people like to handwrite it. And I think the first thing you want when it comes to lyrics is just a list of topics that you'd like to sing about, or just experiences that you've had in life, or thoughts or feelings that you'd like to explore. And just know like what you want to write about, because that's the hardest thing. You might have some music, but then when you're trying to figure out, what do I actually want to write about? Sometimes you don't know what you want to say, and it can be kind of hard to figure that out. So taking time to just sort of figure out what are the kind of things you want to explore. And here's the cool thing. You have to realize, like, in a song, you don't have that much real estate in the song. You got 2 verses, a chorus, and a bridge, and that's about it. Again, you know, with a traditional song structure. That's not a whole lot of room to tell your life story. So you might have one experience, and you could write multiple songs. Again, some of you are familiar with my songs, For You, and say that it's over. Both of those songs are about the same experience. They're both about the same person, a friend of mine, and an experience that she went through. And it was songs about me trying to help her and not being able to get through to her. She just wanted to be left alone, basically. And those are two different songs. One is from more of a perspective of the frustration of it, just wanting desperately to help someone, and no matter what you do, they kind of cut you off, and you're kind of helpless. There's nothing you can really do about that. No matter how much you want to help them, you can't unless they allow you to. And then the other one is sort of more of the desperation, more of the like kind of pleading, like, please let me help you. So there's sort of, one's from a perspective of frustration, the other is from a perspective of desperation. But they're both based off of the same experience. So you could take a story in your life and write several songs. Even, let me see here. Let me see if I have it somewhere. I've got a list. A lot of my songs, let me see if I can find them. I thought I wrote them down somewhere on here. All right, give me just a second. A lot of my songs are kind of about very similar things. Some of you know I write a lot of songs about perseverance and that kind of thing. Man, I'm drawing a blank. All right, I think I can remember them. But my songs like A Place to Call Home, Get Up Again, even Plastic Cup, this recent one that I'm working on, Waking Up. These are all songs basically about my desire to pursue my dreams. I have a passion for being an artist, being a music artist, and being able to do that for a living. And it's kind of hard because it's not like a traditional path. It's not the same path that people take. And so I write a lot of songs about feeling like nobody gets me, feeling like I don't belong where I am and I long to be somewhere else. And sort of trying to muster up the courage to take that steps, trying to step out and take the different path that no one else is taking. And so I write a lot of songs about that topic, but they're usually, they're not all the same song. There's different variations and different, examples of that and that kind of thing. So that's kind of an example there. So when you're writing, you just want to come up with like kind of a list of different experiences, and just one experience, you can write multiple songs from that. One other example is I've written one song for my dad and one song for my mom, and but that doesn't have to be the only song I write for them. I actually want to write another song for each of them because I think I can do a better job now. It was kind of a while back that I wrote them songs, and I did pretty good, but I think I could write a better song for them. So you don't just have to write one song and then be like, okay, I can never touch that topic again. No, you can write probably a never-ending amount of songs on that topic. So let me catch up with the chat, and then I will continue here. Let's see here. There's some hellos happening. And I see some commenting happening. Silas was saying, I remember thinking about that in my most recent song, Find Your Voice. Might have been commenting on something I'd said. And yes, definitely, thoughts and prayers with everyone, with the storms and all that stuff happening. Eddie commenting beautiful on something. Might have been commenting on the chord. Yeah, sorry if I missed that. But yeah, that's like one of my favorite chords right there. Jack says, I'm not sure it's a relevant question, but do you write your songs first as acoustic versions, or do you envision them first as metal songs? That's actually a really good question. So, and it's totally relevant. When I was younger, when I first started writing songs, I didn't have an electric guitar. All I had was my dad and my brother's acoustic guitars. But I loved rock, and I loved punk rock and metal and hard rock. And so I would write rock songs on the acoustic, but I would imagine what it would sound like. Like, I can't wait to hear what this sounds like on electric. And at my church, there was an electric guitar there. I think it was my brother-in-law's, but he just left it at the church. And so whenever we went to church, after service, I would get to go plug in that electric guitar, and I get to play my song that I wrote, and I finally get to hear what it sounds like through the distortion. It was so satisfying. I wish I had some examples, but I love these kind of chords. So I just drop tuned my guitar. I loved playing and drop tuning. And you can play a power chord with just a single finger. But then if you add your ring finger, so down 2 strings and up 2 frets, so right there, you can take that shape. And I love the way those chords sound. You could play, and then you add that ring finger. It just sounds so cool. So I would probably write something like, would write that on the acoustic guitar, but then I'd get, you know, let's see if I can do it right now. You know, I'd get to church, and there'd be the electric there. I get this plugged in. And let me get some distortion on. And this is going to be in a, well, don't worry about that. It's in a different tuning, but. Okay, so, and then I'd have the distortion on, you know. Now you can probably hear the strings through the mic and stuff, but, you know. But I actually like writing that way. Again, like I said, I'm going to turn the distortion off, but a lot of times I'll play with just my unplugged electric guitar. Because it makes you, I think for a lot of beginners, I think the distortion can be kind of distracting. Like everything sounds more exciting when you have distortion. So when you take the distortion away, now you just got this boring, you know, like clean guitar, just the guitar strings, you know, they're boring. So if you can make them sound interesting, like if you can find notes. Yeah. You know, if you can find notes that sound interesting without any distortion or anything, then it's going to sound even better once you add the distortion and add the other instruments and that kind of thing. So that's my sort of philosophy. I like to strip it down to just the bare minimum stuff. And if I can make it sound good there, then it translates well. Now, I will say for certain genres, like when I'm writing like progressive metal and that kind of stuff, I'm probably going to write that on an electric guitar rather than acoustic. So like another idea of, here's a riff from, you know, this is one of my like instrumentals, you know, but. You know, so I can play it on acoustic, but I definitely wrote that on electric guitar, and I wrote that with electric in mind. And now it sounds kind of cool, but there's definitely, you know, another example, Plastic Cup. It's got a breakdown in it that goes like this. And actually, I gotta admit, like, I'm like, that sounds pretty cool. I was gonna say it doesn't sound as good as on acoustic, but I was like, actually, that sounds pretty cool. But that, you know, that doesn't sound like an acoustic song. You can tell, like, that's not the kind of chord progression or chord movement that you'd typically find in acoustic music. It definitely sounds like something catering to metal. And something I'm kind of trying to do, I definitely still utilize metal techniques in my songwriting, but these days I'm actually trying to write more on acoustic and piano because I want the song to translate both. Like when I produce the song, I'm going to produce it with the metal mindset, like the electric guitar and the drums. But then I want it to still work. Like if someone just gave me an acoustic guitar, I could still perform it for them. You know, like there's some metal songs I've written and I couldn't really perform it with an acoustic guitar. It would just, it would translate kind of weird, you know? And I'd like to write songs that translate both ways. That's kind of just a personal preference. It's not a rule or anything, but that's kind of my opinion on that. So hopefully that kind of answers that particular question. Let's see here. Some hellos happening. And yes, Jack, you're right. I tend to write the music first before lyrics. Some people write their lyrics first. Me, I usually come up with a musical idea, and then I'll come up with a melody, like with the vocals in mind. So again, we'll talk about Plastic Cup, but when I wrote the riff for Plastic Cup, I would come up with a melody. Let's see. I'm in a different key, so. Yeah, it's high. Yeah, it's higher than normal, so. So I'll come up with a melody, and sometimes I'll even make up words. Like, I can't remember the original words I made up, but it might have been like, I can't even remember, but I'll come up with like random words. Let me see. I'll just make up something right now. There's something that's in the way, and I will not be afraid. You know, like I'll just make up words just to kind of feel it out. But those aren't the words that I use, you know, for the final version. That's just to help me kind of come up with an idea what the vocals are going to do, and then later I'll replace them. But once you have that, once you have your music and you've got your melody, then it's kind of like filling in the blank. You just got to find the right words to put in there. So that's how I approach it. And again, I used to write the whole song that way. I would write the whole song, come up with the whole melody, and then I'd have to write all the lyrics. Now, instead, I'll have an idea for a chorus, and I'll come up with the melody, and I'll write that first. And once I write the chorus, then I commit to doing the rest of the song. If I think the chorus is good, then I'll do the rest of the song. Let's see. Oh, we got Fab in the chat. Hey, Fab, hope you're doing well. Minors versus majors, and how many sharps are too many? Minors and majors, I think they both have a place. I think there's some cool stuff. To be honest, with music, there's a lot of guidelines when you start looking into music theory, and that stuff's really helpful, but they're guidelines, they're not rules. So, you know, you don't have to use all majors or all minors. It just depends on what you want to do. You can experiment with both. I don't think there are too many sharps. You know, sharps are just a key. You know, when some keys have sharp notes in them, and you can even use borrowed chords from different scales. And so it's literally just a playground, just whatever kind of sounds cool and whatever makes you go, ooh, that's kind of interesting. You just follow that and just sort of, just sort of see what happens. Do songs have to have verse, verse, bridge, chorus? No, they do not. Songs can follow any structure you want. There are even genres, I think one's called doom metal, where it's like very much like the whole style of music is just, but it's like super low tuned and it's like, it's like it's more atmosphere than, like, it's not really a song, and that's like the whole song. It just does that for 9 minutes. And so the truth is, with music, you can do anything you want. You know, I've written songs that don't have bridges. Not every song has to have a bridge. You know, you don't have to have verses and choruses. There's a reason that's a popular structure, because it works well, and it works really good for like making a statement and getting in and getting out quick. You know, I listen to a lot of progressive metal. That kind of music usually doesn't have verses and choruses. It's more like sections of music, and the song progresses. It's almost like it's telling a story. It's kind of like listening to a movie. So no, you know, it's art. You can do whatever you want. Now, keep in mind, whatever you do, there's going to be a degree of accessibility to it. I kind of see it with this way: like, art is on a spectrum, and on one end, you have true art, like, which is making what you want, no matter what anyone else thinks about it. Like, you're just making what you want to make. That's art, where you're just expressing your vision, and you're not listening to anyone's feedback. You don't really care how other people act or respond to it. You're just making what you want. That's one end. On the other end of the spectrum, you're making only what other people want. So you're willing to compromise your own views, your own beliefs, just to make what someone else wants, which at that point, I would argue that's not even necessarily art. That's more like a product. You're just making what someone else wants. And I don't think there's any right or wrong with that, but you do have to recognize the compromises that you're making. If you make art only for yourself, that's fine, but you have to realize some people, it might not be accessible. Some people might not like it, and if you're intentionally making decisions that you know people aren't going to like or might not like, then that's just the reality of it. You know, you shouldn't be surprised if people don't like your art. On the other end of the spectrum, you might be okay with making stuff for other people if that satisfies you. But if you feel like, if you're getting frustrated, like you don't feel fulfilled, like you're not expressing yourself, well, that's what you get for trying to please people and only making that. So me personally, I like to be somewhere kind of in the middle. I start with mainly myself, but I try to make my songs with the audience in mind. Like I want us both to be excited. I want to be excited about what I'm making, but I want people to like it and connect with it. That's the most important thing to me, that people can connect. I see myself as a translator. I'm trying to take my feelings and what I hear in my music, and I'm trying my best, and I'm still learning how to do this, by the way. I'm trying my best to translate what I feel so that other people can connect with it and understand it as well. That's my viewpoint in art, but the truth is you can do whatever you want. So, all right, I'll try to catch up. I know I'm kind of behind here. Silas was saying, I thought about your song, Say That It's Over, while writing my song, Find Your Voice. And which, by the way, I hope you guys like the song for those of you who saw it. Yeah, I think Silas did post a video of a new song of his, so definitely check out his channel and his songs there. So I think it's awesome that you're writing stuff and that you're putting it out there. Jack was saying, when someone inspires you, do you discuss it with them? Hold on. When someone inspires you, do you discuss it with them ahead of time? Have you ever been asked not to record a song by people in your life? So, no. That's like, if I'm going to write a song about someone, I'm just going to write it. I've written plenty of songs that people don't know I wrote about them. In fact, Say That It's Over and For You, I would be willing to tell my friend, hey, this song is about you. But I just don't think I've had that conversation with them yet. But I didn't write that song for them. I wrote it for me because that was something I was experiencing. That's art. I had to get that off my chest. I had to write about it. Now that's where it's kind of different. If you're saying someone's name, if you're like saying their name and you're telling details about them, that's where you're maybe crossing the line of, okay, now you're like invading the privacy of this person. But that's kind of where the vagueness comes in, where the song, I'm talking to someone, so yes, the song is about someone, but it's really just me expressing, my experience. And some people have written songs like that. I have heard of people writing songs where it's about someone and they shift the perspective and they write it from that person's perspective. So that's kind of an idea right there, I could take that same experience and I could try writing from her perspective and see like what kind of song would come out of that, and that sort of thing. I've definitely thought that before, and I've definitely felt that way. It's kind of funny because it's almost easier to share my songs with strangers. People who really know me, part of me is like, I wonder if they're going to know who this song is about. Not that all my songs are, most of my songs are usually about my internal conflict, like my thoughts, my experiences and things. Like I don't usually write too many songs that are specifically about another person. And if I do, it's not like I write disrespectfully about them. Usually it paints them in a good light, I would say. Or at least in a light that shows that I care about the person. But yeah, I definitely don't, think I'm going to write a song and then go say, hey, I'm thinking of writing a song about you. Do you mind if I it's like, no, I just write it, but that is kind of funny. On that same topic, I don't know this for sure, but I have a friend, still a friend of mine, but back in high school, I had suspicions that she had a crush on me, and she wrote this song, and somehow I heard it. She shared it with me, and it was a song about a guy who likes a girl, so she's a girl, and she's writing about this guy. I think it was, he likes a girl, but he doesn't love me. It was basically a song about this guy that she liked, who liked someone else, and she desired for this guy to like her. And I was always kind of suspicious. I was like, this is a great song, by the way. But I was like, I wonder if this song's about me. So I don't know that for sure. I never got confirmation on that, but I was suspicious about that. So that's an example of me being on the other side of that coin, of someone writing a song and maybe it was about me. I don't know. I don't know how many songs have been written about me. Yep, sounds like, all right, cool. Yeah, Eddie was saying, Polyphia, watch out. This guy coming for you. Oh, yeah, thanks for that. No, I've got a few stuff like that, but probably not on Polyphia's level. Yeah, Polyphia is really good, so at writing that kind of, fingery stuff. So let's see here. A few hellos happening in the chat. Hey, we got Lady C. Hey, Lady C, hope you're doing well. We're talking all about songwriting, kind of discussing the music, but we're going to focus primarily on the lyrics. We're about to get to that in just a bit here. I'm just answering a few questions right now. If you ever have any questions, feel free to drop them. I'll do my best to answer them. Yeah, Silas was saying, I just recently watched your video on how you got your Schecter. I posted that a while back, but yeah, there is a story behind my Schecter, and I'll bring that up real quick just because if we're talking about lyrics, I could probably write a song based on that story. Sometimes when you're trying to come up with lyric ideas, you want to look back at experiences you've had. So for those of you who don't know, this is actually my first guitar I ever had. Like I was saying, I kind of grew up, I never really needed another guitar. My dad had an acoustic, my brothers both had acoustic guitars, so I always had something to play. The only time I played electric guitar, I was always borrowing someone else's guitar. I was either borrowing my brother-in-law's or my friend's. Never had my own. And it was around, I graduated back in 2010, and around 2011 there was like a recession, a big economic crash. And I think we weren't able to pay off our house, and we ended up losing our home. And so my parents and some of my siblings had to move in with our grandmother. I ended up moving in with my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law and living with them for a little bit. And so we were kind of in some rough financial times. And then my birthday was coming around. Gosh, I'm going to try my best not to choke up here. My birthday was coming around, and they were celebrating me and gave me this birthday card, and I opened it up, and just all this cash fell out. It was like too much cash for a birthday card, like a ridiculous amount. And I was like, what is going on here? And I read the card, and it was just my parents saying how proud they were of me, and how they said, we hope you have a wonderful birthday, and we hope you have fun with your dad tomorrow when you go to Guitar Center to pick out your very own well-deserved guitar. And so it was just, going through such a financially difficult time, and for them just being so generous to get me a guitar, it was just such a sweet thing for them to do. So so I went, and this was the one I chose. Kind of had this one in mind, so this guitar is very special to me. But I haven't written any songs about that particular situation, but I could. And probably what I would do is I would try to, just like I told the story now, I would probably just write that out. And I would try to get really specific about the details. I'm going to demonstrate that later, but just try to get specific about the way I felt and the kind of thoughts running through my head, and the visuals, the things that I can remember seeing and physically feeling, not just emotionally, but physically feeling and touching and just remembering that experience. And then, maybe it could be a song. That already sparks ideas in my head. It could just be a song about generosity. And I want to be that generous. I want to have that same giving spirit that my parents have, and treat other people that way. Or maybe it could be a song about gratitude, just thankful for having people like that in my life. I'm not sure, I'd have to think on that. But there you go. I could write that. I was talking about having a collection of song ideas. I could add that to my collection of ideas. I could add that story and explore that at some point, and just say, what kind of song would I write based off of this experience? And there might be something there. So definitely stories like that, the kind of experiences that you go through in life, that's the stuff that gives you something to say, that gives you a reason to write a song. And so it could definitely help. Lady C was saying the verse-chorus thing makes it more catchy, I guess, though. Yeah, it's sort of a simple structure. The verse-chorus makes it a little easier to remember. One example of that, some of you know I did a cover of the song Into the Unknown. And to be honest, the original version of Into the Unknown, the structure of the song is kind of complicated. Like, when you first hear it, it's hard to recall, what did I just hear? It's hard to kind of remember it. And so having a recognizable verse and a very recognizable chorus, it kind of helps the song stick, and it helps you sort of know where you're at in the song. So there's definitely a reason why people tend to favor that structure. But again, no particular issue. Mr. Smith was saying, it's always a tough choice between sticking to commercial formats or forging your own path with a different layout of songs. I would agree. It's a tough choice, and I think I'd say especially, it depends. If you're just writing songs for fun, then you can do whatever you want. If you are looking more career-based, like you're trying to make a career, then I do believe there's an audience for anything. So even the less accessible stuff, like I was mentioning earlier, if you do something more artsy and experimental, there is an audience out there that will love that. Now, it's probably not going to be huge. It's probably not going to be like mainstream, popular, more commercial stuff. But you don't necessarily need that to succeed. maybe some of you have heard there's an expression of about 1,000 true fans. That's really all you need to succeed in any form of art. You just need 1,000 true fans, people who just love what you're doing and are willing to support you in doing that. Now, overall, you're probably going to need more than 1,000. It's probably going to be like 10,000 or 100,000 fans. But that's not the same as like millions of fans, like for famous people. Like, you don't have to be famous to succeed. And all you need is just, if you make a specific style of music and you know how to target an audience that likes that kind of music, then, you'll be fine. Again, for me, I love like technical death metal, and there's an audience for that. People who like that kind of music, they love that stuff. And so I could if I wanted to commit to that style of music, that's what I would kind of market myself towards. I would try to attract those kinds of fans. So that's the first question you have to ask yourself, though, as an artist, like what is going to be most fulfilling to you, and what can you commit to? Because I do think it helps to commit to something. Even myself, like I like a lot of different styles of music, but I've tried my best to kind of hone it in. There's still room for variety in what I do, but I think it's all cohesive under like the same message and an emotional tone that I tend to convey in my music. Let's see here. Silas got another sub from Chad. Checking his stuff out. Awesome. Chad saying, stop dissing me with your songs, Quincy. It's like, yeah, Chad, I've written numerous songs dissing you, man. It's like, no, if I wrote a song about you, I think I'd only have good things to say. So maybe one of these days I'll get around to doing that. I will say, I do have it as a note. Some of you guys have shared personal stories with me and things. And sometimes when I write my lyrics, I do keep you guys in mind. A lot of times I try to write about perseverance. My music, I like to acknowledge the challenges and the struggles of life, but I have a very hopeful viewpoint of that's the stuff that shapes you, that makes you a stronger and better person, and you can overcome it and you can beat it. So a lot of times, even if I'm writing from my own story, sometimes I'm thinking of you guys and how it's going to affect, like how it might translate to you and your story and your journey and what you're going through. So see here, Chad says, I'm working on it on a Quincy diss track. He's a great guy. He rocks. He's super cool. He probably has on purple socks. No, afraid I have black socks. I'll have to get me some purple socks though, so we'll have to see that. But yeah, mic drop indeed. I think that's pretty good start to a diss track right there. Let's see here. And then, yeah, thank you. Yeah. All respect, beautiful. Yeah. I really appreciate my parents for that. So, but thank you for sharing the sincerity there. So, amazing guitar. Thank you, Eddie. Yeah, it's a very special guitar to me, and I love it. Definitely a special guitar for me. Silas was saying, I remember when my dad bought me my first electric in 2022, when it wasn't even my birthday yet. He knew I was getting invested in playing music. Awesome guy. Well, that's great, Yeah. Darn, black socks. Yeah. You were close, though. All right, so anyway, so you just kind of want a collection of ideas, you want something that inspires you musically to build off of, and same thing with lyrics. You just kind of want a collection of just topic ideas that you might want to write about, certain experiences or stories that you've had. What else do I have here? For lyrics, man, I lost it. I'm trying to look at my notes here. There we go. And then, yeah, just thoughts. So I'm a pretty deep thinker, and I actually think out loud a lot. So I like to be alone sometimes, so I can just kind of talk out loud and think. The reason for that is because you can think multiple thoughts as once, but you can only speak one thought at a time. So by thinking out loud, by talking, you're able to sort of organize your thoughts and kind of keep them a little more structured and get a grip on what you're trying to make sense of. And same thing in my prayer life. When I'm praying to God, my prayers are very just conversational, just talking with God, kind of like I am right now. And when I take that time to pour out my thoughts or explore my feelings and stuff, sometimes it helps me articulate what I'm trying to understand. Like maybe I'm going through something and I'm just trying to understand, like, why am I responding this way? Why do I feel this way? What do I think about this? And the more I explore and investigate, sometimes I'll be able to articulate something. I'll make a statement and it's like, that accurately describes how I feel. And sometimes I'll take that statement and I'll add it to my collection of lyric ideas. And so that way I can take that statement and maybe turn it into a lyric, or maybe write a song based off of it, I journal, and journal is really helpful. Just journaling your thoughts, and then sometimes at the bottom of the journal, I'll even write like a little lyric, just a little line that rhymes or something. It doesn't even have to rhyme. It can just be kind of an idea, and just kind of collecting ideas. So yeah, when you're coming up with lyric ideas, you don't have to worry about the rhymes yet. That's usually the thing that most people focus on are just the rhymes. But you want to focus more on like what you're trying to say, what you want to say, what you're trying to explore. All right, let's see here. All right, so I think what we're going to do, yeah, usually, you can go either way. I think people who are primarily vocalists, they tend to write lyrics first, and then later they'll figure out the music. Either if they play an instrument, they'll write it themselves, or collaborating with someone. Me, I usually come up with a music idea first, and then I'll come up with a melody, and then I'll kind of write words that match with that melody. And just remember, like, you don't have to release everything you do. It's just for fun. So you're just experimenting and just seeing what you can come up with, what you can discover. And you might have to go through a few bad ideas first before you find the good ones. Again, Eddie was commenting earlier, that little riff I wrote, that's like from like progressive metal kind of stuff. When I first started getting into that kind of music, I had no idea how to write that kind of music. I didn't know guitar could be played that way. I typically... I typically played down here, like just... And I might have like a few notes here, but it was very chordy kind of stuff down here. But there were guys writing music where the main riff was like... I don't have enough room to get up there. But they were using the whole guitar. Again, that's between the Barry to me, for those of you who don't know. But like that riff, it's using the whole guitar. Like, that's not a guitar solo, that's the riff. It's just like, and I was like, how do you write that kind of stuff? I had no idea. And so that can be kind of helpful too, is when you're first learning, one of the best things to do is just learn songs and then just try to like deconstruct it. Learn a song like that, and then just say, how can I write something like that? What are they doing? And how can I maybe imitate that to some degree? That's something I used to do a lot. One example of that, my song For You. I've actually done this a lot, but especially when you're first starting out. Again, For You is kind of an older song of mine, but when I first wrote it, it very much followed a similar structure to what the band Killswitch Engage does. So Killswitch Engage, if you've ever heard the song My Curse, so My Curse, it's got a riff that goes like this. And then it'll play like that for the verses, and then the chorus, it's got these chords. And there's this little melody that goes over top. So So when I wrote For You, I was actually following a very similar structure to that song. So again, the verse, let's look at what they're doing there. So they're in drop tuning, so you can hit the open chord, and they're kind of just hitting these single notes. So I just came up with my own riff. Now mine's a little more slidey. It's not that bop-a-da-bop-a-da-bop-a-da-bop. Mine has a different rhythm. My riff goes like this. So you can tell it doesn't sound like the same song, but it's definitely inspired. It's a riff like that, just playing that open tuning, hitting these power chords. And then even when I go to the chorus, I liked that chord. So that chord for My Curse. There is love burning to find you. Will you wait for me? I like that chord. And so I actually went there, but I knew I couldn't do the same thing. So a few differences in my version. One, mine's in a different time signature. My curse is in 6 timing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My song is in a 4 timing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, but I'm using the same chord there, but the melody's different also. Instead of there is love, mine goes, well, ignore my warning. Just know that I'm going open instead of, he goes here. And I knew I couldn't go there because I didn't want to rip off what they were doing. So I went here. Well, ignore my warning. Just know that I'm sorry for you. So when you compare them side by side, you can see the similarities. I even wrote a guitar part. You know, again, my curse has it's got that. I wrote, let's see, how does that part go? Oh, it's an octave. And then it goes, yeah, so that part, that plays over. So it's following a very similar structure, but I changed the time signature, I hit some different notes, I have a different rhythm, I have a different melody, so it comes out as a different song, but it was totally influenced by Killswitch Engage. And when you're first learning to write songs, I think it's so important to actually do that, because it teaches you the craft. It teaches you to understand how songs work. It teaches you the craft. And then over time, as you develop this sort of catalog of taste, you start to realize like what kind of sounds you like, what kind of techniques and chords or melodies or movements that you like. Eventually, you'll start coming up with ideas that are not directly influenced from any particular artist. And that's when you start kind of developing your own original sound. Again, Silas had mentioned, a lot of the songs I'm writing now are newer material for me, and so I'm very excited about that because already, like I've only got demos of it right now, but when I reveal it to you guys, it doesn't sound exactly like other stuff. You know, when I look at my older stuff, I can tell you right now, it's like, For You. Yeah, that sounds like Killswitch Engage, and there's a little bit of Avenged Sevenfold in there. What else? My song A Place to Call Home, that was inspired by a band called Mutiny Within. Get Up Again was actually inspired by a band called Protest the Hero. And then even Brothers to the End. I was playing for you earlier that Between the Buried and Me song. Well, keep that in mind. And listen to Brothers to the End. Again, if you heard them back to back, you probably wouldn't think much of it. Or you know, if you heard them on their own, I guess you wouldn't think much of it. But now that I'm playing it back to back, you can tell, like, that was totally influenced by Between the Buried and Me. And that's because when I wrote that song, it was my first time. I was just trying to learn, like, how the heck do you write stuff like that? You know, I didn't know how to write that kind of music. So I think it's okay, which, by the way, it is super common. You know how many songs use the same chord progression? There's like thousands of songs that have, you know. Like right now, can you tell me what song that is? I'd be curious if anyone can name what song that is, because there are thousands of songs that use that chord progression. First one that comes to my mind is Don't Stop Believing, Hold On to That Feeling. Now, you might have been thinking of a different song, you know. Trying to think what else there is. I want to talk about me, I want to talk about number one, oh my, me, my, what What else we got? He was a boy, she was a girl. Can I make it any more obvious? Now, to that song's credit, they actually tweak it up a little bit. They use some pretty cool chord changes in there. I think they go, can I make it any more obvious? He was a punk, she did not. What more can I say? Yeah. So let's see here. Yeah, any way you, yep. Any way you want it, that's the way you need it. Any way you want it. But main point is, that's pretty common. I think when you start actually taking riffs, if you're like, hey, check out this song I wrote. It's like, no, that's Back in Black. You're stealing. So, that's stealing when you're taking like something that's super distinguishable, super recognizable. If you're taking a melody, again, I could write my own song. If I wrote, I know that somewhere I can find a place where I go. I'll be there just someday. Like if I just change the words, it'd be like, dude, that's just Don't Stop Believing. You just change the words, So it's, you can't, that's where you're like actually taking from something. But, I'd say when you're first writing stuff, like don't be too afraid of like, what if this is too similar? It's like, no, just kind of get inspired by it and try to write your own version of it and try to distinguish it from it as much as you can. But, yeah, that's kind of how you learn the craft of songwriting. And then from there, you can eventually, you start coming up with ideas just purely from messing around, just experimenting yourself. And that's not directly influenced or inspired by someone. So hopefully that gives you guys some ideas of what you can do with music. We're going to talk about the lyrics now. Like, what do you do once you have an idea? So let me start with Plastic Cup, actually. I think we're going to get into this. So. Again, some of you know that Plastic Cup, this is a song I'm currently working on. So far it's going well. I'll be honest, this week has been a little challenging. There's been a few tedious parts of the process that are taking a little bit longer than I would have liked. I'm not necessarily behind schedule, but for the next song I work on, I want to see if I can speed up this part of the process to prevent that from happening in the future. Eddie was saying, I kind of heard Superman, It's Not Easy as well to me. I know a song called Superman, but I don't know if it's the one you're talking about. It might be a different one, so let's see here. Silas was asking, how do you think I did with the lyrics on my new song? I'd have to listen again to give you like critical feedback about that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but maybe I'll listen to it again afterwards, and I can give you some feedback on your lyrics. I'll make a note of that. So just a moment here. Give Silas lyric feedback. Yeah, I'll check it out, and I'll let you know kind of what advice or tips I would give for that. Okay. So when I wrote Plastic Cup, the way it usually works for me is, first I'll come up with a music idea. So I had written this riff that goes... And I think I made a demo of that. I actually recorded the electric guitar and the drums, and after that I came up with the... So I kind of liked the music, but for me, I was like, all right, the music's good, but I gotta have a catchy melody. If I'm gonna make this a song, like, it's gotta stick in people's head, I gotta come up with something good. So when I started coming up with a melody, I fished around, but eventually I came up with this. heard those notes, I was like, ooh, I like the way that sounds, and I thought it was kind of catchy. And I probably had some temporary lyrics, maybe, but I didn't have words yet, so it was just an idea. So what I do is, when I come up with the music idea, I record that, and I store it away. I have a collection of all my music ideas, and I'll usually give it a temporary title. So here's a fun little trivia fact for you. That song, the temporary title that I gave that song, it was originally called Knuckle Sandwich. So just something about it sounded like aggressive. Especially the way like it starts and stuff. Actually, I think I have the backing track here, so I can play kind of the demo for you. Let me get to it real quick. Here it is, yeah. So like listen to, just listen to this, so. So just, to me, it sounded kind of aggressive, kind of frustrated. And that's what I'll do, is I'll come up with I try to come up with a title that I feel like captures the tone. So I just called it Knuckle Sandwich. It sounded kind of tough, And, but sometimes I'll make an actual list, like a note of titles that I have. So I would write Knuckle Sandwich, and then I'll try to write emotions that describe it. Here comes the chorus. So it just sounded like, it sounded frustrated, it sounded desperate. So I actually have here, I'll share with you in a moment. Let me go ahead and bring this up. Yeah, I'll bring it up so you can see it. So I've actually got my notes here. Here we go. So if you see at the top there, where it says plastic cup, and underneath it says Knuckle Sandwich. So that was the original title. And then I try to kind of describe the vibe of the song. So I wrote angry, frustrated, desperate, can't keep running away, had enough, motivation, ready to fight, Those were the kind of things. And I even wrote so I was trying to figure out what's the song going to be about, And so I was kind of writing some potential ideas. I wrote my frustration with making content when I'd rather be making music. That was probably an original thing, because that was something I used to deal with. I felt like I used to make a lot of YouTube videos back at the time. I probably wrote this like original idea a while back, and before I wrote the lyrics. And I was spending more time writing, like making content on YouTube, and I just wanted to make music. And so that's definitely something I've been trying to turn around lately, for sure. But I was thinking maybe I could write about that. I just want to be good enough. Maybe I'm just tired of not getting much appreciation for my music and everything I've worked so hard on. So this is me just trying to kind of decide, like, what do I want to write about? What's the song going to be about? And so I was kind of tinkering, like, what do I feel when I hear this music? And the reason it's helpful to do that is because when you do start writing lyrics, sometimes you might come up with an idea for something, and then you can go to your list of song titles and kind of read through and see if you can find one that kind of matches the tone of the lyrics that you're coming up with, that you're writing. Let's see here. I was thinking of 5 for Fighting Band. Maybe you were thinking Goldfinger. Yeah, about the Superman song. Yep. Okay, so when it comes to lyrics, that's usually what I'll start with. Oh, hey, we got Leo in the chat. Hey, Leo, hope you're doing well. I'm talking about songwriting, so if you have any questions, let me know if there's anything you're curious about. We're talking about lyrics, and I'm using my song Plastic Cup as an example. So I start with just the idea, just the... riff, and I'll come up with a melody, but I don't have words yet. And I try to just describe like the emotion of that. So I think what happened with this song, and let me see if I'm ready to actually get into this. I think we'll go for it. Okay, so I'm going to bring that back up. So one exercise that I do when I'm trying to figure out like what to write about. So what I did for this song, I didn't just start writing lyrics right away. That might be the first thing I would do, is just kind of like write around, and you kind of got to figure out like what do you want to write about. That's probably the hardest thing, just figuring out like what do you have to say, what do you want to say. So one exercise I learned is something called sense writing, and this is super helpful. Also, shout out to a YouTube channel. There's a YouTube channel called How to Write Songs, and they give great advice on lyrics. As far as music goes, I've kind of figured out how I like to write music, just sort of on my own over the years, but lyrics are definitely something I've been trying to improve on. And that channel, How to Write Songs, that's the name of the YouTube channel. They've got a lot of great videos giving advice for songwriting. And one thing they talk about is what's called sense writing. And the way this works is you set a timer for 10 minutes and you try to think of a certain experience that you had, and you just write down all the senses that you can about that experience. You try to write, what did you see? What did you hear? What did you smell or taste? And what kind of things did you touch? What were you feeling inside your inner body? What kind of movement was taking place? And these are the kind of things you're thinking of. And so what I wrote, you can see here where it says shower, and then I've got all those senses in there: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, inner body, movement. And I'm going to read this to you, but what I wrote was, I thought back about this time. This was an experience I had. It was back in 2016, okay? Now, I didn't write this in 2016. I wrote this maybe a year ago, So I can't remember when I originally wrote this song, but I didn't know this was going to be Plastic Cup yet, but this is what I wrote before that. So I was trying to figure out, what do I want to write a song about? Didn't know what the music was going to be. I just needed some words, and I just needed to know, what do I want to write about? And there was this experience I had back in 2016. My best friend that I grew up with, he was getting married, and I kind of knew that it was going to be goodbye for us. I knew his life was taking him in a different direction, and it was just kind of hard. And I was kind of at a turning point in my life where I was a lot of my friends were moving away at that point, and I was still kind of trying to figure out, what am I trying to do with my life? I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't have a whole lot of clarity on how to get there. And there were just certain things I needed to figure out in my own life. And so it was definitely a low point for me, and I was feeling very alone. And on top of all that, I was about to say goodbye to my best friend. And so we had a bachelor party for him, celebrating him. Great night, lots of fun. It was such a fun night. But I did not sleep well. It was an awful night of rest. We didn't have enough beds or couches for everyone. I had to sleep on the floor. And it was one of those nights where I woke up every hour. So it was such a long night. It was awful. Everything else was great. The sleeping was awful. And what happened was I went home with a friend, and this was a friend who, he's a little bit younger than me, but he too had a dream about music. He wanted to have a career in music. And somehow we got onto the topic, and I was just asking him, hey man, what are you up to? What you been going on? Leo says, I love sleeping on the floor. Well, I'm glad you could do it. I can't do it. If I could do it, I'd be fine with it, but I struggle with it. But I was talking with my friend, and we got onto the conversation. It's what have you been up to? What are your plans? And he was sharing his mindset. Now, he wasn't thinking about me. He wasn't intentionally trying to jab at me or saying anything. And I don't think he realized that. But what he said was, he's like, well, we've been trying things with the band, but it's just not really working out. And I think he was, let's see, how old would he have been? He was in his early 20s. And he's like, it hasn't really taken it off. And you know what they say, if you haven't made it by your 20s, it's probably not going to happen. And I was older than him. And so I don't think he realized, him saying that, it was to me saying, oh, so you're saying I don't have a chance. You're saying I'm holding on to this dream I have is futile. And so he didn't realize he was saying that to me, but it just kind of stung a little bit. And for what it's worth, that's not true. I didn't know that at the time, but at the time, it's just, that's what he chose to believe. It's not true. He still could have made it. If he stuck to it, if he stayed committed, he could have had success with it. Maybe he would have needed to make some tweaks or some adjustments, but he was believing something that wasn't true. And me, I was struggling with, do I believe that or not? I was in a point in my life, what do I believe? Do I really believe I can do this, or is this something I need to let go of and move on from? And that was just such a hard thing. And so I got home, and that's actually where this note picks up. So I had a certain experience, and it was a very key moment in my life, just something that really stuck out with me. So what I did was I set a timer for 10 minutes and I just wrote about it. So here's what happened. And notice that as I'm writing this, I'm not writing a song. I'm just trying to write about this experience, and I'm just trying to be as descriptive as possible. So I use a lot of weird kind of like verbs or, and some of them aren't good, you know, but that's the point. Like, especially when you first start off, when you first start, the first like analogies or metaphors you use are probably not going to be that good, but usually you start getting in the zone, and by the end of it, you start getting good. That's the point of the timer. Once the 10-minute timer runs out, that's usually when you're in a more creative headspace. And that's when you want to start actually trying to write a song, and you don't need to keep sense writing anymore. So this is more like a warm-up. This is just to get your brain in the right mindset. So here's what I wrote. So I arrived at an empty house. I stood and breathed in silence for a moment. I was exhausted from a restless night, celebrating my best friend with a bachelor party, and in need of a shower. As unsteadily as a zombie, I crept up the stairs and found the bathroom. I stripped off the weight of my clothes, stepped inside the shower, gripped the handle, and activated the water. The warmth rained down on me and gifted me with the relief I'd longed for. I stood static as my body absorbed the liquid. As the water flooded my head, so did my doubts and concerns. Am I too old? Is it too late? Do I need to grow up and let go of this dream? But I didn't have understanding. Something was wrong, but I didn't know what. Suddenly, I collapsed into the tub. I crumbled into a ball. I broke like a dam, and tears burned through my eyes. I surprised myself with the words that finally revealed themselves. I just want someone to love me and to tell me I'm good enough. I laid on the slippery floor as drops of water poked at my skin. I wept in heaves and released pressure. There was some relief in acknowledging the pain. And the reason it ends there, it doesn't keep going, is because the timer ran out. So I didn't keep writing, but that was me trying to recall like what that experience was like. And sorry, just trying to catch up. Yeah, Chad saying, we all know Quincy is in his early 20s now. I'm actually not. Believe it or not, my birthday is this month. I'm going to be turning 33, believe it or not. So. But thankfully, I do have that slight advantage. I look younger than I am. So I could probably tell people I'm in my 20s and they believe me. But hey, we got Nuke in the chat. What's up, everybody? What have I missed? We're just talking all about songwriting. And we're kind of focusing on lyrics. So I'm sharing how I wrote the lyrics for my song, Plastic Cup. So if you have any questions about songwriting, let me know. Anything you're curious about, or if you like writing your own songs, anything you want tips or advice on. But what I did here, this was sense writing. I was writing about an experience I'd had and just trying my best to describe it. So I was trying to use visuals. And there's certain lines in here that I read. I really like the, what line is it? As the water flooded my head, so did my doubts and concerns, you know? So that's like a really good, that sounds like a lyric right there, you know? So that's what you do, is you kind of do your sense writing, and then you go through it and you kind of grab the bits that you like and you pull off of them and you sort of see. But the line that really stuck out to me was the line that I said. The line I said was, I just want someone to love me and tell me I'm good enough. So that was kind of the main point. So then after that, I've got, let's see here. I think I started trying to write some lines. Let's see. Yeah, so I decided to use that. I was like, okay, that phrase, that phrase that I just want someone to love me and tell me I'm good enough. I felt like, okay, that's like the key thing. Maybe that's the chorus right there. You know, how can I turn that into a lyric? And I realized that love and enough sounded kind of similar, like they could rhyme. So if I tweaked that phrase and I changed it to, would someone just show me some love and tell me I'm good enough? I was like, okay, there's something there. That's kind of a line. So there we have a line. Would someone just show me some love and tell me I'm good enough? Okay, we got a line. So now what I did was I went to my list of song ideas and I tried to read the tone of the songs. I tried to read like which ones kind of match the tone here. So again, if we go back, eventually I came across this idea that it was originally called Knuckle Sandwich. And again, the words describing the music, it says angry, frustrated, desperate, had enough, ready to fight. You know, it was like, okay, this might work. You know, this desperation of, would someone just show me some love and tell me I'm good enough? So that's the first step. Like, okay, tonally they kind of match, but do they match? Like, do the words fit with the music? That's the next step. So I took that melody and I tried putting the words in there. Would someone just show me some love and tell me that I am getting enough? And once I got that to fit, it was like, game on. Now we got a song. That's when it gets exciting. That's when you're like, all right, we got a song now. So that was the first part. Just, I had that course there. And I loved the way, especially, let me bring up the actual recording. So again, I might be a little louder than the music, but when I sang it, would someone just show me some love and tell me that I am good enough? Like, it was in a range where it's like I could sing it with desperation and frustration, and I was like, okay, we got something. This could be a song, So that was the first step. But then the next thing was something. My past lyrics have been a little, like, sometimes I describe, like, my feelings, but how do I explain this? I've noticed that a lot of really good songs use a lot of symbolism. Like, usually the song has a title that's sort of a metaphor for something. So, for example, there's a Katy Perry song called Daisies. I don't know if you guys have heard it, but I actually love that song. It's not a song about daisies. It's a song that uses the expression. You ever heard the expression now he's pushing up daisies? That's the expression that you're dead, you're buried underground, and all you're doing is you're pushing up daisies. You're just soil for the earth. So it's a song about chasing your dreams until death. Like, you're not going to give up until you're in the ground pushing up daisies. But it's using daisies as a metaphor, as symbolism for what the song is about. The chorus says, told me I was out there, tried to put me down, took those sticks and stones, told him I could build a house. They tell me that I'm crazy, but I'll never let them faze me till they cover me in daisies. Yeah, that's what it is. So basically, I'm not going to let their words, their disbelief, their doubt, I'm not going to let it tear me down. I'm going to keep holding on. I'm going to keep pushing through, and I'm going to keep going till I'm pushing up daisies, till they cover me in daisies. So that's what the song is about. And so I've kind of tried to kind of do that. And Leo saying, I know a Ween song about daisies. I don't know if I'm familiar with that one. I'll have to look that one up. Nuke was saying, I only know one Katy Perry song, and it's one Drew Off Stalin covered with Anup Sastry. I'm not sure which song that is, but I actually like a lot of Katy Perry songs, and I think lyrically she has some good stuff. Which, by the way, that's a tip too. When you're trying to write lyrics, find some artists, like, really focus on the words. Try to find artists who are like, man, they just write some words that really resonate with me. And then try to, like, analyze, like, what are they doing? What kind of techniques they're using? And a lot of the songs I listen to that resonate with me, I notice that they would often have some kind of metaphor, something that kind of symbolized or sort of packaged the meaning of the song. And so it's kind of funny. I was actually, when I was writing Plastic Cup, I was having breakfast in the morning, and the song was on my mind. I was eating, and then I was walking over to the piano, and I was playing piano. I was actually playing the song on piano. Again, I don't really actually write the song with the electric guitar. I write it on the acoustic or with my electric guitar unplugged, or I'll write it on the piano, and that's what I was doing. I was sitting down at the piano playing the song, and I was trying to come up with something, and for breakfast, normally I drink out of a glass, but for whatever reason, I was using a plastic cup. So I was drinking from it, and then I was like, plastic cup. Cup kind of rhymed with love and enough. And I was like, could that work? Plastic cup? What would that symbolize? And so what I took away from plastic cup was it could symbolize, like, once I'm used up, I'm just thrown away. That's kind of what it represents. It's not a song about a plastic cup. And so I came up with the lyrics, would someone just show me some love and tell me I'm good enough? I've poured out all that's filled me up. I've poured out everything that's in me. still I'm tossed away like a plastic cup. And so it's just expressing that frustration of feeling like I'm trying, and it's just like, but I'm not seeing the progress I want. I'm not seeing the success or the, you know, the feedback that I'm hoping to get from all the effort that I'm putting into what I'm doing. And so once I wrote that, you know, someone to show me some love, tell me that I can get enough. I poured out all that's filled me up, still tossed away like a plastic cup. Or like a plastic cup with someone, and then it repeats. And I was like, hey, that's kind of catchy. I'm digging that. You know, I was feeling it. And so that gave me an anchor. That gave me, I knew what the song was about. Like after I wrote that, I was like, okay, so this is a song about feeling like I'm putting in this effort towards something and I'm just not seeing the results that I want from it. And so once you kind of know what your song is about, that's why it's so good to start with your chorus. Because once you write your chorus first, then it's easy to write out the rest of the song. To map out the rest. So usually you want to come up with the title. So I was like, okay, the song's called Plastic Cup. The concept is plastic cup. It's a metaphor for feeling, it's a metaphor for feeling convenient and then forgotten and thrown away, ultimately unappreciated. That's kind of what I was using, because that's what plastic cups are used for. You know, you use them just to get a drink, and then once you're done, you throw them away, you toss them away. So that's kind of the concept behind what the song is about. And then as far as, then you map it out. So then you know, like, what are the verses going to be about? So verse 1 starts with talking about, you know, I once believed I could be anything, took a chance and chased a dream, but never realized how lonely it would be. So it kind of sets up like what I believe, and then brings up, but I didn't, you know, I underestimated the challenges I'd be facing along the way. Then it references that story that I wrote about. Now I'm crying on the bathroom floor like spilled milk with a messy story. So even that spilled milk kind of, I'm starting to use plastic cup to sort of filter the kind of words or expressions I use. So spilled milk with a messy story, just moments till I self-destruct with no one here to clean me up. And then it goes into the chorus. Now, I usually like my songs to have a hopeful message to them. So I could already tell, like, all right, the song, it is a little, it could sound a little, you know, negative, a little like down in the dumps. So how do I pick this back up? So verse 2 is the perseverance. Verse 2 is like, and here I'm trying once again, like litter trapped inside the wind. I came up with that line. And again, thinking of plastic cup more as like a piece of trash rather than like a useful utensil, you know? So here I'm trying once again, like litter trapped inside the wind, still believing I can get a hold of things. So that's probably my favorite lyric from the song. And here I'm trying once again, like litter trapped inside the wind, still believing I can get a hold of things. Every effort, then it goes on to say, every effort leads to new mistakes, and I crawl back to the same old place. I need someone who can lend a hand and pull me from this garbage can. So it's sort of like I'm persevering, but still facing challenge, still facing struggle. Then we get to the breakdown. So I knew at this point, like, if there was going to be any turnaround in the lyric, this has to be the statement, you know, like, what am I going to say in the breakdown? And this has to be the, like, I'm not giving up, you know, I'm going to hang in there. So the lyrics for the breakdown go, this is where I'm using the harsh vocals, I'm screaming here, but it says, in spite of how much it hurts, there's something inside of me, and I know it's more than just debris. Again, I wouldn't have written that line, but since my mindset was, I'm thinking about trash. So I'm trying to use words like trash, litter, garbage, junk, debris. And so in spite of how much it hurts, all the pain, all the challenge, there's something inside of me, and I know it's more than just debris. It's more than just garbage. It's more than just junk. There's something there. And so it goes on. And then finally, there's a last verse. There's a last verse that's kind of soft, and it kind of shifts perspectives here. And I sort of leave this for interpretation for the audience, but the way I see it, there's two interpretations. This could either be me talking to the audience or to myself, or it could be about God and what God says about me, what God thinks about me. And so the last line goes, I know you feel like a piece of trash, thrown away and forgotten, but please don't let go, 'cause to me, you're a treasure. And that's how the song ends. So again, that line, I know you feel like a piece of trash, thrown away and forgotten, but please don't let go, 'cause to me, you're treasure. And so that's the point of the song. It expresses the frustration, so if any of you, if you ever deal with a time in your life where you just feel unappreciated, or you feel like, you're trying so hard to do something and you just feel like you're not getting recognized, or whatever it might be, and you're just frustrated, you feel like nobody gets you, nobody understands you, it's sort of a song that kind of relieves that frustration. But then at the end, it's a reminder of like, hey, I know you feel that way, but that's not true. You might feel like a piece of trash. You might feel like nobody cares about you, no one's thinking about you, but that's not true. There's something special in you, and it's treasure. And that's kind of what the song is about. So that's the hope. It's acknowledging that frustration and that struggle, but encouraging that, yes, it's tough. It's giving you that chance to relieve that, but there is something more. It is worth fighting. It is worth hanging in there. And so that's kind of what the song is about. And so that's how that process worked. It starts with the riff, and then figuring out what I want to write about, coming up with a line, finding a song that works with that line, the song lined up with it, and then went from there. So anyway, hope that kind of made sense. I'm going to dive into another song in a moment. But let me know if you have any questions about that. I'm going to catch up with the chat here. I know you guys were a little chatty while I was explaining all of that. So Jack, I think Jack has maybe headed out, but said, this was really fascinating stream, Quincy, but I have to head out. Night, everyone. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it interesting, and I always appreciate you tuning in. Hope your hand feels better soon. Hang in there, Jack. Let's see. Yeah, Chad was saying, I'm tired from, I think someone was asking how he's doing. Tired, but rolling along. Nuke, just getting up from a nap from after work. Sucks being a night owl and having a job. You got to get up at 4 a.m. Yeah, I think Stan's not here tonight, but Stan, he's got to get up pretty early too. I think he gets up at 5 in the morning, maybe 4 as well. I'm not sure, 4:30. I know he has to get up early as well. I'm definitely a night owl. I'm trying to get better. For me, my goal is to wake up at 7 or 7:30. If I can do that, that's early for me, and that's progress for me. So I have to discipline myself in getting to bed around 11 o'clock, sometime before 12 o'clock. Let's see here. Yep, just catching up on some stuff. And hey to Indy. Hey, Indy, if you're still out there, hope you're doing well. Appreciate you tuning in. We're just talking all about songwriting. Well, Indy was saying having one of those days, to be honest, life. And so, well, I'm sorry you're having a tough day, but, hopefully you heard what I was just talking about. And hopefully a song like Plastic Cup could be encouraging to you. Like, there's going to be days like that, days where maybe it's just kind of tough. Maybe you feel a little unappreciated, or like no one gets you, or you're just kind of questioning your choices. And that's really tough. But just remember, there's something special about you. There's even if other people don't see it yet, it's in you. And so just hang in there. And those tough days are going to come, but you can get through them. You can persevere, and you're going to come out a stronger and even better version of yourself. Lady C was saying, now I'm thinking of Oscar the Grouch. Yeah, maybe I could have referenced Oscar the Grouch in my lyrics, talking about a garbage can. So there we go. Oh, thanks, Indy. Yeah, Indy says, love that ending, Quincy. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Let's see here. Sorry, just trying to catch up. Yeah, Nuke was saying you'll have to sing Oscar's trash song for me on the stream sometime in the future at Lady C. Yeah, Lady C has a stream, and she'll have to sing. I'm pretty sure Oscar's got a song. I can't remember it, but yeah. Random Sesame Street songs. Yeah, that'd be a good one. Cool. And hey, we got Ray in the chat. Hey, Ray, hope you're doing well. We're just talking all about songwriting. We're talking about lyrics right now. I'm catching up with the chat, and then I'm going to get into it. Yep, just seeing. Speaking of trash, look who the cat dragged in. Yeah, so I'm not sure who you're referenced again, unless you're talking about yourself. But no, Ray, if you heard the song, then you know that you're not a piece of trash. You know, you're treasure. So appreciate you tuning in. All of you are treasure. Appreciate you tuning in. Cool. Yep. So that's kind of one example. I thought I would share another example. So it's one thing to talk about like how to write lyrics, but what actually makes good lyrics? And I thought a good example for this would be a song that I wrote recently. Some of you know I performed a song recently called A Mirror That Was Broken. Now, this is an interesting song because it's kind of a revamped song. The lyrics are totally new. I wrote the lyrics this year. But the music, I actually wrote that years ago. And this was an old song of mine that was originally called Hero for the Broken. And the reason I chose to revisit this song was because on a few special occasions, I have played the song Hero for the Broken. And whenever I get to that chorus, I always got good feedback from that. A lot of people really liked the way that sounded. So I was like, maybe I should revisit this song. But the old lyrics to me are just cringy. And so I was like, I got to revisit the lyrics. And so I thought it would be good to do a side-by-side comparison, comparing the old lyrics to the new lyrics to show like, why are the new lyrics better? Why are they good? And why are the old lyrics? What was wrong with the old lyrics? And so we're going to kind of get into that. Let's see here. I think those are the lyrics right there. Yeah, these are all my writing notes. I didn't get to go through this before, so I don't think we're going to look at all of this. Trying to see where I want to start at. By the way, all this I'm scrolling through, these are like my notes. These are like my test lyrics. These are me writing thoughts like maybe it could be about this or that, and trying different lines. Like, so this is what, if you want to know what it looks like writing lyrics, this whole note, this is all just like, those are the finished lyrics right there. And then underneath, these are like tests and like, words. I've got words like lens, image, echo, repeat, follow, words that I might try to use, see if they inspire an idea. I've got different variations of different lines, different options. And so it can get messy. And I'm still going, it just still goes. And me trying to figure out like, what's this a song about? And so I got overcoming something that's weighing me down. And then what is that? What's weighing me down? Is it depression, loneliness, anxiety, insecurity? Are there any specific examples in my life where I felt that way and I can reference that? What am I trying to say with this song? Here I've got lyrics from Linkin Park, Somewhere I Belong. That was a song that I think there were lyrics there that kind of seemed like they matched kind of what I was trying to say with this song. So I used that as inspiration. Another one, Breaking the Habit here. Here's some other lyrics here. And here's me like keeping the good parts and then putting parentheses around the parts that I don't like, that I felt like I needed to swap them out. Cool. Man, I'm surprised how long this note is. I just like copy and pasted this. All right, but nope, I'm not there yet. Where are we at? I hope I'm in the right spot. Yeah, this is it. Okay. All right, cool. All right, so here, no, this is not it. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong note. Give me just a second here. Where did it go? I had a note of both the courses right next to each other. Maybe they're here. There they are. Okay. All right, I got it, sorry. All right, here we go. All right, Hero for the Broken versus A Mirror That Was Broken. All right, I'm going to catch up with the chat and then see this. Thank you, Leo saying love the song. Thank you. Refer to that. I appreciate that. I was reading another comment as I was saying that. Ray was saying I'm referring to myself. And thank you. Yeah, Indy saying, yep, relatable. Yeah, Lady C was saying, I love this melody and the new lyrics. Cool. Thank you so much. Speaking of Linkin Park, I love the new singer myself. Yeah, I think so. I don't know if I'm going to get into a whole other a whole other topic, but yeah, I agree. I think it's a great way to carry on the legacy of the band, and it doesn't feel like they're trying to replace Schecter. It just feels like they're honoring him and sort of just moving on, continuing with the band, and so it just feels like growth for the band rather than like trying to, because you can't replace someone like Schecter, and so I think they've done a great job. I've liked both the songs that they put out, so yeah. Nuke was saying, I've never been good at writing lyrics. Mine always end up being too convoluted. So if I understand, if I recall, I think convoluted, do you mean too, like a little too bloated? Is that what that means? Extremely complex or difficult to follow, yeah. Yep, that's a real issue, yep. Well, maybe this will help. Maybe what I'm about to compare will help you understand how we make clarity, because that's the biggest difference between these two versions of the song. The old version of the song, Hero for the Broken, I kind of had an idea what I wanted to talk about, but I wasn't specific enough. I wasn't intentional with what I was trying to say. That's the biggest difference. The new song, A Mirror That Was Broken, I was intentional about every line. I knew exactly what I was trying to say. And so maybe this will kind of help you with having a little more clarity in what you're trying to say. And Chad's not wrong saying convoluted can be good. Some people like that. Some people like the vagueness in lyrics. And I like a balance. I don't think your lyrics have to be like specifically about, again, earlier we were talking like my song about my friend that I wrote. I'm not saying like my friend's name, and I'm not necessarily describing in detail the exact situation that happened, but I'm describing enough that it's clear, the message is clear, what I'm talking about, but it's vague enough that people can kind of insert themselves and sort of take their own story or their own experiences. So it can be a balance. Some people like to be super specific with their lyrics, and that can be kind of cool. Some people like to be super vague, and that can be cool just as well. So it's kind of just a matter of preference. Nuke saying wasn't impressed with a new vocalist. Not sure what. And I would just say, yeah, nothing wrong with first impressions, but I'd say definitely just kind of wait and see. There's no easy way of doing it. It's not like the first vocalist to come out is like, oh, gonna be totally awesome. I think she's a great vocalist. I'm excited for it. I'm not gonna say I'm like totally yeah, this is the best stuff ever, but I think it's good. I like the new songs that I've heard. I do think she's a phenomenal vocalist, and I think she works well with the band, but it'll be interesting to hear it in context of an album, like to hear through the whole course of an album how it works out. And so I would just say, just kind of let time do its thing and see if she grows on you. Maybe she will, maybe she won't, We'll see what happens. But of course, if you're saying never been a huge fan of Linkin Park, yeah, that'd probably be the thing too. Lady C was saying, I didn't even know who Linkin Park was till this year. And I didn't know about the controversy when I decided to sing their song. It's mostly just because, there's a lot, it's a sad story because Chester's life ended in tragedy. Like my heart breaks for anyone who finds themselves in that situation where they feel that the only way out is to take their own life. And that was back in like 2017, I think is when that happened. And so I'm happy for the band because again, the band was more than just one person. It was the whole group. And for them, I think they felt like, they weren't sure what the next steps were, and they still wanted to make music together, but, they wanted to honor Chester in doing that. And I think this is like healthy for the band, just to be able to still come together and make music together. I think that's a good thing. And so if anything, I'm just happy for them. Even if I didn't like the new vocalist, like I'd still be happy for the band that they're moving on and they're moving on with their lives and not letting that be the end of their life and just, and then they were never happy again. They're finally, taking some healthy steps into growing and recovering from that. But anyway, yeah, a lot of chatty stuff happening. Hey, we got Christopher in the chat. Hey, hope you're doing well. Some of my favorite songs contain lyrics that you have to kind of think about. Example, the Dustland Fairy Tale by The Killers. I'd have to hear that song specifically, but I do like The Killers. And I think both can be good, I think it just sort of depends. I had a friend tell me that recently. I was kind of explaining how I felt like a lot of my old lyrics were kind of vague. And she said, I actually kind of appreciate the vagueness because it sort of allows me to sort of interpret it myself, what I take away from it. And so there's definitely nothing wrong with that. Let's see here. It is definitely hard to replace a member who, heart is kind of an interesting word. I definitely think, you know, passion for sure. But Schecter was actually the last member to join the band. It was really Mike Shinoda's project, and I think it was him and one other member that kind of started it. And so it was really their band, but Schecter just brought so much passion and heart in his vocals and his performance. So he was definitely like the star of the show. But yeah. Leo, man, sorry. I'm so sorry to hear that, Leo, saying my best friend killed himself the summer after 8th grade, and I think about him all the time. I'm so sorry about that, Leo. I've had some close relationships with people who've experienced similar things. I've definitely dealt with that. You know, we had somebody from our youth group at our church years ago, and I think they had some rough stuff going on at home, and unfortunately took their own life, and it's just... it just breaks your heart. Like it breaks my heart to know that anyone could be in that kind of situation. And so that's a big reason why I am so big on just like, I think people like that, you know, need people to understand them, to hear them, like to not just tell them like, oh, suck it up, you know, just be okay, you know, just put on a smile, but like people who can level with him and be like, hey, I can't imagine, but I know that must hurt, you know, and just people to try and understand them, but then to kind of help lift them up out of that and encourage them. And so that's definitely something I try to keep in mind with my lyrics. Again, even Plastic Cup, I kind of use a heavy lyric in there. I've never been suicidal, but there is a lyric in there that I've always kind of thought like could come off that way. The lyric, now I'm crying on the bathroom floor, like spilled milk with a messy story. Just moments till I self-destruct with no one here to clean me up. I always thought that lyric sounded a little suicidal, but I decided to keep it in there because I thought, well, maybe that, you know, there's probably people who do feel that way, you know? That's what I want them to know. Those are the people I want to hear that song, to know that, yes, if you feel that way, I hear you, I understand you, and but just don't believe those lies, you know, don't beat yourself up and put yourself down, you know, your life has a purpose and a meaning, and so that's definitely what I want. What's this here? Nuke was saying, yeah, but I can't do that with bands I like Static X and Pantera. I'm a little bit of a hypocrite here because I feel the same as you with LP. It's always going to be tough because, again, you connect with certain people. It's the same thing, what is it? 3 Days Grace, I like that band, and they have a different vocalist now. And that's tough. Like I don't listen to new 3 Days Grace, mostly because I don't care for their new material. But that can be kind of tough. Sometimes there's a new vocalist and the band just feels different without the former one. So it's always going to be a difficult situation. Let me see here. I might be missing. I don't know if I missed a comment or something. Was development in the chat? I might have missed that. Or are you just referencing him? Because who was it? Ray was saying DOA has a point. I used to talk about me and personal things in my life, but I'm trying not to do that anymore. I think it depends how you talk about those things. So if you're just kind of venting and just kind of complaining, then that can be kind of hard. But I think the things that you experience in life, if you're trying to use that to connect with other people, I think there are ways, and especially if you're trying to, like, I don't think the result is just to always keep it inside. There's definitely, you have to use discernment, like to know when it's okay to talk about those things and when it's best to keep it inside. But if you're just thinking like, oh, I've got no one to talk to about this stuff, I just need to keep it to myself, it can kind of build up and eventually it comes out, and sometimes in detrimental ways. And so I do think it's good to try to find people to connect with. And I think it's okay to be honest. Like, you don't have to tell your whole life story, but just being like, hey, we've all got struggles. We all deal with stuff. And so sometimes you can feel like you're the only one, but we all do. And so I think connecting with people kind of helps relieve that burden a bit. All right. So I think we're going to get into the lyrics here. All right. So when we're talking about lyrics, what we're going to compare these two. So again, this song, it used to be called Hero for the Broken. So let's look at the chorus. The chorus. We're going to look at the chorus for both songs. And here were the original lyrics. let's see here. I might have some notes here. Yeah, so the original song was called Hero for the Broken. And I think the problem was I kind of knew what I wanted to talk about. The song was about being unable to help others with their problems. But the problem was it wasn't specific enough. And I didn't really, even if you're talking specifically, it's not so much that your lyrics have to be specific, but I think you have to be specific with your lyrics. And what I mean by that is I was kind of talking about the situation or the topic generally. I wasn't being inspired by a specific situation in my life to inspire the lyrics. So my message was, the new lyrics, so what's interesting is I think I came up with the phrase hero for the broken. When I was writing the song, I had that chorus. And I was trying to find the right words to put in there. And when I got to this part, the way I used to write lyrics, sometimes that melody, I'll just kind of come up with random words, and I think I came up with the phrase, don't know why I try to be a hero for the broken. And just because that fit, I don't know why I try to be a hero for the broken, I just automatically assumed, okay, I guess that's what the song's going to be about. The song's going to be about me. I don't know why I try. Me trying to help people, trying to be a hero for people who are hurting, but I can't seem to help them. And so basically the rest of the song was just me taking that concept and trying my best to write some kind of lyric out of there. Oh my gosh, I thought I had found it. Yeah, it's right here, right? Oh, okay, it is there. Okay, sorry. Losing my notes today. I'm sorry about that. Okay. So keep that in mind. So when I first wrote the song, I'll go ahead and I'll sing the old chorus for you. The old chorus went like this. I'm falling apart now for all I know. Everything's changing and I must let go. But I keep on trying to save the day. I wonder if I'm just getting in the way. I am not a savior, I am just a man. I don't know why I try to be a hero for the broken. Now the chorus isn't even the worst part. It's actually the verses that are worse, and there's a reason for that. So when I went to rewrite the lyrics, I guess let me sing the new version, and we'll see what has changed here. So here are the new lyrics. Okay, because you'll notice they actually start off the same. I'm falling apart now for all I know. Everything's changing and I must let go. But I keep reflecting on better days and wondering if life will ever be the same. Scraping up the pieces, cutting up my hands, looking for myself in a mirror that is broken. All right, so let's compare the two. So the songs start off the same. I'm falling apart now, for all I know. Everything's changing and I must let go. But what that does, so both songs have the same setup, but let's look at that. What am I saying? I'm falling apart now for all I know. So I'm clearly in a state of distress. The character in the song is in a state of distress. They're losing their grip on whatever they're dealing with. Everything's changing and I must let go. Okay, so the life around them is changing. Everything they've known is changing. And they need to let go. That's what they need to do. I must let go, okay? So that's the setup. So the question is, what do they need to let go of? But in the old version, I went to, but I keep on trying to save the day. Now this conflicts with the setup, because the setup is implying that everything's changing and I need to let go. The problem is I can't let go. So what am I not letting go of? But this is saying I keep on trying to save the day. So I keep trying to let go. So the song's suggesting that I stop trying to save the day. I stop trying to help people, And maybe there's a way to say that. Maybe there is a way to learn, like, okay, I just got to accept I can't help these people. But that's not what I'm trying to say in the song. And the song eventually goes on to say that I won't let go. So I'm just sort of kind of conflicting myself with what I'm trying to say. And this goes on with me saying, okay, the song's going to be about trying to help people, but I'm basically just settling for words that kind of work with the song and are kind of about the topic, but I'm not being specific about, like, I'm not actually meaning what I'm saying. I'm just kind of settling for whatever works. But I keep on trying, and whatever rhymes. You know, I'm focusing too much on just coming up with a good rhyme. And then this is something I used to do a lot. So it says, but I keep on trying to save the day and wondering if I'm just getting in the way. And I kind of hate that. I used to make these side comments all the time. Like, that's kind of what I think of that line. Like, it's sort of, but I keep on trying to save the day. I wonder if I'm just getting in the way. You know, it's like, it's kind of like just this side comment that isn't the main point of what I'm saying. Like, it kind of goes with, you know, just feeling like I'm not of any use to anyone. I'm not actually being helpful. But it's, again, just not really a lyric I particularly care for. And then this last bit, I'm not a savior, I'm just a man. So kind of pointing it down like, you know, I'm limited in what I can do in my ability. I'm just a man. I don't know why I try to be a hero for the broken. And again, I've sort of expressed this. Part of the reason I wanted to change the lyrics, I don't think I meant it this way, but it just kind of came off as a bit self-righteous to me. It sounded like, oh, poor me, you know, I want to help people, but I just can't seem to, you know, just kind of, that's the tone it came off, and that's not what I intended. That's not what I wanted to convey in the song. And so what's sort of interesting is I think that phrase fit, hero for the broken, and so I was just kind of lazy and just tried to make the rest of the song work with it. And so the rest of the song is really just trying to find rhymes that kind of match with the meaning of the song. So how do we fix that? Well, the question is, what I would have to do is, if I wanted to stick with that topic to be a hero for the broken, then I probably need to change the setup. So one example of that is I could say, instead of everything's changing and I must let go, I might say everything's changing and I'm losing my grip. Okay? So that doesn't rhyme with no, but the intent is there. Everything's changing and I'm losing my grip. So that's saying I'm falling apart now, for all I know. I'm in a state of distress. Everything's changing and I'm losing my grip. So it's not necessarily saying that I have to let go. It's just saying what I'm trying to hold on to, I'm losing a grip of it. And then I might say something like, I try my best to save the day, but something's wrong. So maybe that is then being more intentional, saying, okay, so this is a song, you know, I'm trying to be helpful, but something keeps getting in the way. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you can see how the old lyrics just kind of, you know, they had a general idea of what I was trying to talk about, but they weren't specific enough. You know what song I did write that was specific enough, that had the same topic, like helping someone? My song For You and my song Say That It's Over. Both of those songs are about the same topic, but instead of just this general overview of just, oh, I just wish I could help people, like that's too vague. You need to be more specific. So I wish I could help my friend that one time when she was really hurting, and I wanted to be there to help her, and she just kind of cut everyone off, you know. That's an experience. That's something that I can actually reflect on. And yes, I could be vague in my lyrics, you know, I could be vague in describing the situation, but now I'm writing with intent. Now I'm writing about an actual experience, and I'm thinking of that person, and I'm trying to recall the things I felt. And that's why both of those songs have better lyrics. Those are two songs that are about the same topic of wanting to help people who seem to be going through a challenging time in their life. But those songs were more intentional. That's why those lyrics came out a lot better. This one, the concept was too vague. So I decided to ditch the whole hero for the broken. So when I wrote the new lyrics, I came up with the phrase, a mirror that was broken. Okay? So a mirror that was broken. I was like, a mirror that was broken. And so I was thinking, okay, that could be the symbolism. That's the item, a mirror that's broken. What does the broken mirror represent? What is that about? So the first thing I was thinking, okay, it's a broken reflection of myself. It's seeing myself and not liking what I see in it, not being happy with the image that I see of myself. So that's kind of the first step. And so what is this a song about? So I started focusing on the chorus first, and I liked that setup. I stuck with the same setup. So I'm falling apart now for all I know. So state of distress, you know. Everything's changing and I must let go. So we have that same question. What do I need to let go of? Well, if the song is about me not being happy about something in myself, in my own life, what is that? So I was thinking the mirror, so I was like, all right, how do I reference the mirror? So I thought of the word, well, a mirror reflects, reflecting. I keep reflecting on the past. So I came up with the line, but I keep reflecting on better days. So what that implies is that I need to let go of something. What do I need to let go of? I must let go, but I keep reflecting on better days and wondering if life will ever be the same. So this is a song about, oh, I'm stuck at a point in life. Everyone's passing me by, everything's changing, and I'm stuck in the past. There's something that's keeping me from moving on myself. And I'm having a hard time reflecting. I'm always reflecting on the past, thinking those were the best days of my life. And I'm just wondering, like, I'm doubtful about the future. I'm afraid of the future. Is there anything better to come? And then I wanted to be more visual. I wanted to try to better... When you're trying to explain emotions, it's nice to find ways to express emotions without just saying, I feel sad or I feel angry or whatever, trying to be more specific. So it's good to bring in visual. So again, I was thinking the mirror, and it's a broken mirror, so I came up with a line, scraping up the pieces, cutting up my hands, looking for myself in a mirror that is broken. So the visual there is scraping up the pieces, cutting up my hands. So it's this broken mirror, and I'm looking for myself. I'm trying to make sense, like, who am I? And it hurts. I'm cutting myself up as I'm doing this. And it gives you this visual of what I'm doing. I'm looking for myself in a mirror that is broken. Now, obviously, I'm not literally looking for myself in a broken mirror, but that explains the sensations of just like trying to figure out, like, who am I? What do I really want out of life? And the struggle, the kind of hurt that kind of comes with dealing with that. So once I knew that this is what the song was about, it's sort of a song about unresolved things, learning to let go of things, and having a more hopeful view of the future. So that gave me direction for the rest of the song. The rest of the song, I knew that, like the first verse, it was going to be like, okay, so what don't I like about myself? What's put this on hold? And so I'll give you a little bit of backstory. So like the first verse, I think we got, Mr. Smith says, thanks, Quincy. I gotta fly. Catch you later. Well, hey, Mr. Smith, I appreciate you hanging out. I hope you enjoyed it. Guys, definitely check out Mr. Smith and his streams. He does some really cool stuff. Great musician, great drummer. So, but I appreciate you tuning in. I'll catch up with the chat here. You guys have been a little chatty, and then I will go. Yeah, let's see here. One second. Just trying to catch up with the chat. Yeah, and so Nuke was saying, your old lyrics are almost too on the nose. Yes, I agree. Almost a little, just a little too specific, And I totally agree with that. And there is that balance. That's where the craft comes in, of like trying to find ways to say what you're saying, but in a more kind of refined way, not like too blunt or too specific, and I absolutely agree with that. Again, I used this example last time, but I wrote a song once, and these are some more old lyrics, but the song had a verse that went, so I'm sad and I've gone mad. Hold on. How's the chords go? There we go. So I'm sad and I've gone mad, and this pain hurts oh so bad, but I'm glad that we're still friends. Like, I'm just rhyming sad, mad, glad, bad. It's just like too specific. There's not really much. The thing about artistry, I think what makes it art is you're trying to translate your feelings. You're trying your best to help the listener connect or relate to what you feel. And you can't just say it point blank. You've got to find ways to engage the other senses, or to create a visual or a sensation themselves. You need more sensational lyrics that really put the listener kind of in your shoes, so that they can sort of kind of better connect with what you're trying to say. Let's see here. A little bit of chatting happening. Yeah, old lyrics reminds me of an old Adam Sandler comedy skit. Yeah, probably could be the case, unless you're talking about something else in the chat. But yeah, like the lyrics he would do, that kind of stuff. I think Ray is heading out as well. I appreciate you tuning in, getting on the other side of what I have become. Trying to get back to an older yet better me and just enjoying me as I once was. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that's kind of what the song is. Kind of just, it's a, I don't know if coming of age is the right word for it, but it's definitely a song of growth. You know, just learning, like, because you're going to have these moments in life, these big key checkpoints in life that kind of put you on pause for a moment, and it's sort of learning how to overcome that. But once you go through that experience, it does shape you, and it's going to impact who you are moving forward in the rest of your life. And so, and ideally, you want those things to shape you for the better. You want to become stronger and you know, be wiser after going through those experiences. So. Let's see here. All right, some hellos happening. Catch you later. Some goodbyes happening. You say intent too many more times, and I'm going to think we're in Cosmere Warbreaker, was it? I don't know if I know what you're referencing there, but the reason I'm probably using that word a lot is because that's the biggest breakthrough for me. My past lyrics were not very intentional. And so being more specific, being like knowing what you're trying to say and actually trying to say it, that's what I lacked. I just kind of settled for what worked in my past lyrics rather than trying to write something, like really just trying to say, like, what are you trying to say? And that, I think that happens is because so often as songwriters, we get so focused on making sure that it rhymes, that we're just trying to come up with a line that rhymes and kind of matches the topic that we're talking about. But I think what's first more important, like, don't worry about the rhymes. Just try to say what you're saying and then worry about, like, can you find a way to make it rhyme? But you definitely want to focus on figuring out what you're trying to say first. Indy says, love hearing your process for songwriting, Quincy. Well, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. We got Gary. Hey, Gary. We're just talking a little bit about lyrics and songwriting. I'm going to talk about a couple more things, and then I think we are going to wrap things up. But, Gary, I do appreciate you tuning in. And I hope you're doing well. I hope you've had a good week. Okay, Nuke was saying it's a book series by Brandon Sanderson. Warbreaker was the name of the book. Forgot the world. Yeah, intent is in the magic system of that word. Okay, so that's why. That's funny. Yeah, I wasn't sure what you were referencing there, but I'll have to look into that a little bit. So that's the difference between the two songs. It became a song of not much intent, not much focus, and now it's a song about kind of self-discovery, like who am I? And what do I actually want? You know, what am I trying to do? It's a song of thinking that the past, those are the best days of my life, and I'm not so sure what the future holds. And one thing I've kind of learned is that's sort of an interesting way to feel about life, because if you think about it, when you're younger, you don't have any experience yet. You don't know what to expect out of life. So you kind of go into life like with anything's possible, you know? But then after you gain a little more experience, as you have a little more interactions and stuff, you eventually kind of realize there's definitely some challenges that happening, and sometimes that happen, and you start to realize what is possible in life and how hard certain things can be. And so the difference is now when you get older, the difference is you have a past. When you're a kid, you don't have a past. When you're younger, you don't have much of a past. But now that you do have a past, it's a lot easier to compare your past to your future, and you're kind of constantly wondering, are things as good now as they were back then? You know, because you're more certain about back then because it's already happened. And so it's easy to kind of stay stuck in the past and just always comparing your future to that, rather than having that same hope that you had as a kid and like, no, there's so much more possibility in store. Who knows what's in store? So once I wrote my course, now I kind of had an idea like, well, what do I need to let go of? What am I holding on? You know, what past experiences did I have that would maybe trigger me to be in this place? And so there were kind of two specific events in my life that I referred to when writing this song. The first one, I'm not going to go like into super detail because I could probably, you know, I'm not going to tell my whole life story here, but the first one was a relationship that I was in. The short version is I'm not one to date. I don't like the idea of just trying people out. If I'm going to be romantically involved with somebody, I'm thinking long-term. I want to be involved with someone that I can see myself being married to. And so when I was younger, I wanted to be in a relationship, but I wasn't just going to try someone out and settle them out. I was looking for someone that I could marry, that I could see myself spending the rest of my life with. And long story short, I did find somebody like that. I saw someone and I thought she was the one. And when we were together, I thought it was happily ever after. I literally thought, like, this is it, I couldn't imagine any reason why it would ever go south, why it would ever go wrong. And so I just thought that was it. I thought it was happily ever after. So that's how the song starts. The song starts with, and so I lived happily ever after, or so I thought, until she told me it was over. Now, real quick, so one thing I've learned with lyrics is you have to try to tell as much information as you can in as few sentences as possible. You don't have the whole song to tell your whole love story. So by starting the song with the end of the love story, and so I lived happily ever after, it kind of sounds like, oh, okay, so starting off good, and then, or so I thought, until she told me it was over. That says a lot. Just those two lines there tells you just about everything you need to know. I was in love, I thought it was happily ever after, and then it ended. I got the rug pulled out from under me, There's a lot said in just those two lines. And so whenever I'm writing a line, a lot of my old songs, it used to take me a whole verse just to say what I was trying to say. And I've since learned how to condense that and just write better sentences, better lines that say more, that tell more without having to say so much. Now, obviously, there's more detail to this story. There's more, even at face value, that lyric, till she told me it was over, that might sort of sound like, maybe it was like it almost sounds like maybe she, was like, it's over, like a little more like harsh, but it was actually a very soft breakup. Like she just said, hey, I think I just want to be friends, It was, and we still were friends. Like it took a while for us to rekindle that friendship because I was very hurt from it. But at the time I didn't understand it. It was just, now I know the answer. We were just too young. Like I literally thought it was the rest of my life. We were just teenagers and like in our early teens. And think about it from her perspective. Like, is this really what I want? Do I really want to spend the rest of my life with this person? Am I sure I'm ready for this decision? That's a big decision to make. And so it wasn't like it wasn't anyone's fault. It wasn't like, it wasn't unreasonable for her to just be like, hey, I'm not sure about this. I think I just want to be friends. Totally reasonable. But again, I don't explain all that detail in the song. I just say what needs to be heard, till she told me it was over. It's what you need to know to understand the context of where the character in the song is coming from. And so, let's see here. Then the lyrics go on to say, a broken heart has a way of putting life on hold. But when I stop to think, I never seem to find an answer. So that line there, a broken heart has a way of putting life on hold. And that's what it means, and that relates to what the song's talking about. When your heart's broken, it just seems like everyone else is going by, life just keeps happening, but you feel like you're kind of stuck in the same place. Just because it's over doesn't mean it's over for you, you still have to cope from that. But when I stop and think, and that's something I've dealt with, whenever you deal with a struggle like that, I don't know if you guys relate to this, but I feel like sometimes you're trying to find an answer, you're trying to make sense of it, but it's just like no matter how much you stop to think on it, sometimes there just isn't much of an answer, or even a satisfying one, and that's just how it feels. So when it goes to the chorus, I'm falling apart now for all I know, everything's changing and I must let go, but I keep reflecting on better days and wondering if life will ever be the same. It just kind of sets that up of like, yeah, I'm kind of stuck in, things aren't going according to plan like I hope they would, and I'm not sure if I like where I'm at, That's the first one. The second verse is about another key moment in my life where all my friends were starting to move away. Again, I kind of mentioned this in Plastic Cup of like, my friend getting married and moving off. A lot of my friends were moving away. Now, what's interesting in the, that's where, when my friends were moving away, that was kind of, in the lyrics, it doesn't really specify that they moved away. It almost makes it sound like I'm the one who's leaving, who's setting aside. But we'll get there. Let me catch up with the chat real quick. Let's see here. Some hellos happening. Admirable, Quincy. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. There is the problem. I should have learned from my past, and I did, so why do I like the old me more than the me I currently am? Well, maybe you learned the lesson, but maybe now you just have to apply it and live it out, you know? There's always going to be hard things. Maybe you got to learn to, I don't know if I can, here's what I can say, because there was a version of myself I didn't like. I like who I am today better than who I used to be. So maybe, but that doesn't mean that everything that I was back then was necessarily needed to be changed. Maybe there were good things about yourself back then, and those are the things that you need to highlight and maintain. But maybe there were some mistakes you made, some shortcomings, and those are the things you need to strive to improve. And that's how it goes for me. There were things about myself I didn't like, things that I was insecure about, and that's what I had to work on. I had to, that's kind of what the song goes on to say. It's a song about searching for yourself, and I kind of had to take that time. Again, it was hurtful when my friends moved away, but it was also to my benefit because it gave me a lot of time to sort of focus on addressing these areas in my life, these insecurities, these uncertainties, these things that I wasn't sure about where I wanted to go with my life, these struggles that I personally had, and it gave me a chance to develop and improve and build up more confidence and fix those things. So I would just say, if there are certain areas of your life that you don't like, try to address those things. Try to be who you want to be. Try to say like, well, if I don't like this, who do I want to be? You know, and try to find those better traits and work towards those things. One thing for me, like just a small example, I'm not the most bold and outgoing person. Now, I'm talking a lot in this stream because the streams have sort of helped with that. And I'm certainly more bold today than I used to be. Again, going back to that relationship, probably the thing I am most frustrated with about my old self is that I didn't have the courage to talk about my feelings with her. I just kind of accepted it and then just kind of complained about it, but I never really talk to her about it. And that happened with other relationships, other like friendships, where there might be a certain situation, and I just, for a long time, I never had the nerve to just talk to the person about it, like face them, because I was too scared of that the reality wouldn't be what I wanted it to be. But what I was falling for, I didn't realize that my current reality wasn't any better. You know, I wasn't where I wanted to be. And the nice thing about taking that step and like having that conversation, sure, it might not necessarily turn out the way you want, but at least you have peace of mind knowing that you tried, that you did what you could, and it really does set you free. It sets you go from that. And that was a lesson I had to learn with another friend. And when I finally mustered up the courage to talk to them, it gave me a peace. It relieved this burden that I was putting on myself, you know. It wasn't their fault. I was the one putting it on me, you know. And that's just an example of what happens in life. Is there's certain things that we do to ourselves, and sometimes we just got to learn, like, hey, if I don't want to be this way, I'm going to have to exercise the ability to not be this way. So in me trying to be more bold and outgoing, sometimes I do things like, hey, I need to talk to someone. You know, it's a lot easier for me to just keep to myself, you know, in a social setting. But if I really want to exercise my ability to connect with people, I need to make an effort and do that. And those are the kind of decisions that we have to make for ourselves. So, Silas is back. Yeah, I'm catching up. Ray was saying, shush, Quincy, LOL. That's where my life is now. I'm now divorced, but still with my ex-wife, at least for the next few months. Well, you know, hopefully let me tell you how the song ends, and maybe the song will help a little bit. So let me catch up with the chat. But that's the intent. That's the reason why I wrote this song, though, was so that it would connect, so that it does connect to people, and they can hopefully learn and become a better version of themselves from it. Yeah, there are a lot of, 80% to 90% of life has no answers. I would agree with that, you know, or at least there probably is an answer, but 80% or 90% of the time we're not going to find it. There's a lot of things that we're never truly going to understand. Indy saying, Quincy, great stream and conversation. Glad I caught you live. I appreciate you tuning in, Indy. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Okay, well, let me share how the song resolves real quick. Be bold was your resolution. Yep, that's right. Yep, being bold. Yep, that was the resolution. And that's right. Yeah, I think I shared that earlier this year. Chad remembered. This year has been a goal for me to be bold, and be more outgoing and be more daring. And so that's carried over into my lyrics too. That's why I some of the lyrics I say, rather than being like intimidated by like, oh, I don't know if I really want to say that, rather than writing boring, vague lyrics, I'm trying to be more specific, more bold with my lyrics. So that's an example of that. Well, Ray, let me tell you how the song ends, because it's got a happy ending. So what happened, here's the story. So again, like I said, a lot of my friends were moving away. Here's the lyric I wrote for verse 2. So verse 2, the story is progressing, the story is continuing. I said goodbye and never saw my friends again. Then took some time to see if I could make things clear. It's a lonely drive when there's no one in the passenger seat. And I'll catch myself often glancing in the rear view mirror, 'cause I am. And then it goes to the chorus. So let's break that down. I said goodbye and never saw my friends again. Now again, like I said before, it's actually a bit of an over-exaggeration. I have seen my friends again, but it's clarifying that there was separation between me and my friends. I said goodbye, and they were out of my life, And then it says, then I took some time to see if I could make things clearer. So the point of that is, because that's what happened. Now what actually happened, it was more so that I was still, I'm in the same place I've always lived. It was more so that my friends left me. These lyrics almost kind of imply that I'm the one who took some time away, but it still gets the same point across. The main point is that I was in a place of isolation. My friends weren't around. It was just me and my thoughts, just head on, just me having to battle them, So I said goodbye, never saw my friends again. And then I took some time to focus on this stuff. I took some time to see if I could make things clear, see if I could make sense of it all. And then I came up with the lyric again. So I wrote that, and then I was like, okay, I need to get the mirror back in then. How do I get the mirror in? So I was trying to think of words like image, frame. I'd already used reflection, fragment. I thought of rear view mirror, and then I was like, that inspired my favorite lyric in the song, which is, it's a lonely drive when there's no one in the passenger seat, and I'll catch myself often glancing in the rearview mirror. So to me, what this is saying is, I'm driving somewhere. It's a lonely drive when there's no one in the passenger seat. So I'm at a place where I'm alone. I feel like no one gets me. I feel like no one understands me, and I'm just kind of on my own. But I'm moving forward. I'm driving. I'm going somewhere. But it is a lonely drive. Even though I'm trying to make better of my life, it's lonely when you don't have that person in your corner rooting for you. When you don't have that person in the passenger seat. And then the line, and I'll catch myself often glancing in the rearview mirror. And that's implying that I keep catching myself looking back. I'm moving forward, but I keep looking back. So that's what that lyric represents. So then we do the second chorus, same lyrics. I'm falling apart now, for all I know. Everything's changing and I must let go, but I keep reflecting on better days and wondering if life will ever be the same. Scraping up the pieces, cutting up my hands, looking for myself in a mirror that is broken. So now we get to the bridge. And for me, the bridge is the turn. This is the resolution. This is where things have to change. And I knew they needed to change because the last chorus, the lyrics actually changed. There's actually a spin on the lyrics. So the lyrics I came up with for the bridge go like this. With every single tear, there's a lesson to be learned. With every single scar is a treasure to be earned. But I'll never find healing if I'm holding on to hurt. I'll never see heaven if I'm face down in the dirt. With every single tear, there's a lesson to be learned. With every single scar, there's a treasure to be earned. But I'll never find healing if I'm holding on to hurt. So I'm letting go, 'cause I am. And then we'll get to the last chorus. So it's acknowledging the good from what's happened. With every single tear, there's a lesson to be learned. It's saying that with every experience that you have, every hurt that you go through, you can learn from that. You gain experience, you gain some wisdom, and you take that moving forward. With every single tear, there's a lesson to be learned. With every single scar, is a treasure to be earned. And that's saying that the hurt that we experience in life, we're usually ashamed of our scars, but our scars are actually the things that make us. Our experiences are the things that shape us. And we can treasure that stuff, those stories. Again, a lot of the stories that hurt, when I look back, there's a lot of stories that hurt while I was going through it. But now that I am who I am today, I look back and I'm almost thankful for those stories. Again, that heartbreak I was talking about, I'm actually thankful. That friend of mine is one of the most important people I've ever met in my life. And if I hadn't had that experience with her, I'm not sure I would be who I am today. I'm not sure I would have changed for the better. And so that's the thing you have to look at. A lot of times when you're going through an experience, it can hurt. And in the moment, it's hard to appreciate that. But sometimes where you end up, you kind of look back and you're like, man, I don't think I would change a thing. That hurt, that journey, that got me somewhere better in the end. So every single scar is a treasure to be earned. And then the reality, here's the kicker, but I'll never find healing if I'm holding on to hurt. I'll never see heaven if I'm face down in the dirt. So that line's just saying, like, if I keep holding on to this, I'm not opening myself up to accepting something else. I'm not giving myself a chance for something better if I keep holding on to what has hurt for so long, And so I'll never find healing if I'm holding on to hurt. And then heaven is in, I'll never see something better. I'll never see the best if I'm just face down in the mud, face down in the dirt, And so then the line repeats, with every single tear is a treasure to be, a lesson to be learned. Every single scar is a treasure to be earned. But I'll never find healing if I'm holding on to hurt, and so I'm letting go. Again, remember the setup in the chorus? I'm falling apart now for all I know. Everything's changing, and I must let go. Well, finally in the bridge, and so I'm letting go. So the final chorus, here's the ending. The final chorus says this. And so I'm letting go, 'cause I am falling apart now for all I know. Caught a glimpse of myself before I let him go. I'm looking ahead now to better days and wondering what life has got in store for me. I'm falling apart now for all I know. Just fragments of memories from long ago. But those days are over, so I'll move on. I know that the best is yet to come, displaying all the pieces, showing who I am, formed a masterpiece. From a mirror that was broken. So let's break that down. So I'm falling apart now for all I know. Caught a glimpse of myself. There we go. I'm falling apart now for all I know. I caught a glimpse of myself before I let him go. I kind of like that lyric of, kind of catching a glimpse of your reflection in the mirror kind of thing. So I caught a glimpse of myself. And that's, I'll be honest, that's kind of a vague lyric, but I think it's sort of, kind of catching a part of yourself and then just sort of just letting it go. A certain part of yourself that maybe you've been keeping an eye on and it's finally just like, all right, that's not me anymore. I'm letting go of that. So, but I think that's kind of one of those lyrics that's maybe a little open to interpretation, So I'm falling apart now for all I know, caught a glimpse of myself before I let him go. I'm looking ahead now to better days and wondering what life has got in store for me. So there's a different in perspective now. So I'm no longer looking in the rearview mirror. I'm no longer looking back. I'm looking ahead to better days. And I no longer believe that my best days were behind me. I'm looking forward to better days with curiosity. I wonder what life has in store for me. I wonder what's out there. I wonder what's possible. And then it repeats again. I'm falling apart now for all I know. Just fragments of memories from long ago, That's the part that's falling apart. All these fragments, these pieces, the broken mirror, all these pieces, these fragments of memories that were long ago. But there's nothing I can do about that. Those days are over, so I'll move on. I know that the best is yet to come. That's what it says. So it's acceptance. It's a song about acceptance, accepting that I can't change what's happened. Those days are over, so I'm moving on, and I know that the best is yet to come. It's having a positive outlook that there's still more life to go. There's still a lot better to come. And then the final line, displaying all the pieces. So the first time it was scraping up the pieces, cutting up my hands, looking for myself in a mirror that is broken. Now it's displaying all the pieces, showing who I am, formed a masterpiece from a mirror that was broken. So now it's saying, rather than being ashamed of the scars or my past or what I've been through, I'm displaying them. I almost share them proudly because it shaped who I am today. Showing who I am formed a masterpiece. You know, I made something beautiful out of what seemed to be a mess, what seemed to be broken. And then the song is past tense, a mirror that was broken. It's not, the song's not a mirror that is broken, it's a mirror that was broken. And so, yeah, so that's what the song's about. It's a song that acknowledges the hurt. It's a song that acknowledges the story, but then it's a song about acceptance, of just saying like, hey, I can keep holding on to that, but as long as I do, I'm depriving myself from accepting something better that could come into my life. And so, yeah, so that's kind of what the song is about, and that's sort of what shaped the lyrics. Let me catch up with the chat here, and then I think we're going to wrap things up because it's getting a little late for me. Let me catch up here. Yeah, all I have is the old me to try to get back, just in a better way. And I think that's good. And yeah, sorry. So I know you guys are kind of conversing yourself. Sorry, I'm catching up with the chat. Yeah, and Ray just saying not interested in therapy. And I got to be honest. I'm definitely not an expert. I think therapy is kind of a last resort. I think sometimes it might be a little too suggested, but I do think it helps to have like good people to talk to. You know, it does help to have, you know, that in itself is therapeutic, but I think rather than going to a stranger, I think finding good people in your life that you admire, people that you see, especially if you can find people in your life that admire is a good word. Like, they're people of good integrity and you respect them and they seem to have a good grip. They seem to have good wisdom, make good decisions. And it's like, and if you develop a good friendship with them, then sometimes talking to someone like that can be helpful in helping you overcome your own problems. So it's definitely good to find like a support circle, just having close friends or close people, a good community to involve with, to uplift you and help you out of those things. But I know it takes time. It takes time to kind of build that trust. It's very hard when you're opening up about these things because it's such a vulnerable place to be honest, and just sharing like, hey, here's what I've been through, and then seeing how people are going to handle that. Because if people are kind of cruel about it, you know, then it can just hurt you even more and just make you shield up even more. But when someone proves like they're sensitive, they understand what you go through, and they show like compassion and sympathy towards it, then that builds like such a strong bond of trust. That's when you start building like really close friendships with people. And my closest friends, every one of my like best friends, we all had a moment like that. There's a certain moment that I look back at where that's the moment we became best friends, because we had a moment of vulnerability with each other, and where we trusted each other with something, and that person proved to be trustful, and that's when you form a closer bond. And Ray, I would say, I think you can fix your head. You know, I don't know the details of your marriage. You know, maybe that's not going to happen if it's already over. But I'd say don't focus so much on that. I'd say the head and the heart is where you do need to focus. Is focus on yourself. Focus on those areas of your life that are feeling incomplete, and find ways to complete them. Find ways to find fulfillment and satisfaction. Leo saying accepting is a great step. Yeah. And only me, myself, and I will be able to fix my life, but at least I'm a bit wiser now and know what is coming and able to prepare. And that's true. Yep, you're a lot wiser from those situations, and I would have to agree with that. It's like you can talk to people, and that can be helpful, but I do agree that a lot of the things in our lives that we have to fix, we kind of have to make that choice ourselves. We got to step out and make it happen. And yeah, therapy isn't about someone else fixing your life, but focusing, magnifying on it. And again, like I can see that. Again, I think there's some help with friends and stuff. Chad, I appreciate that. Chad's saying, always great catching you live, Quincy. You are inspiring. Well, thank you, Chad. I always appreciate you hanging out. Leo was saying, you can get therapy from more than just a therapist. And that's kind of how I feel a little bit about it. But if you're alone, not so much. It's definitely hard when you're not alone. You know, guys, one thing I would recommend, and I'm just going to share this, I'm going to be honest, the biggest thing that helped me in shaping my life, so when my life revolved around this other person, in a weird way, it kind of gives your life structure, but at the same time, it wasn't the healthiest place to be because every decision I made was always with that person in consideration. And so when I finally let go, it was actually a very odd place for me to be because for the first time, my life didn't revolve around someone else. And I remember thinking like, what the heck am I supposed to do now? Like, I don't know what my days are supposed to look like. I don't know how I'm supposed to live my life. And that's when I realized there were things in my life that I needed to work out. And so I realized two things. There's certain things I needed to work out with myself. So I wanted to focus on my relationship with God. I wanted to seek him and focus on that relationship and let him work out the things in my life and help me reveal those things that are holding me back and help me overcome those struggles. And I realized that I had a dream. Being a musician, it's not the traditional normal job that people tend to go out and do. And so if I was serious about that kind of career, it was going to take a lot of focus. And so maybe being single was best for me right now. And that was best. And I'm currently still single. I will say, again, this is kind of another thing, but I am getting to a point in my life where I'm starting to want to invest in that part of my life, like starting to want to get out and start meeting people and making connections. But for a long time, I've been single. Most of it was by choice, but I will say it went on longer than I thought. You know, I was thinking it'd just be like 3 to 5 years that I'd be single, and it's been like getting close to 10 years now. So, but it's been good for me. It's been good because it's allowed me to focus on the areas of my life that I struggled with. A few things I struggled with. I had a problem with lust, and it was a part of myself that I hated. You know, I had female friends that I loved and respected, and it was not them that I was lusting after, but in my own, there was this part of me that sometimes would be tempted, and I would look at things that I didn't want to look at. And all I thought was like, man, if my female friends, if they could see me like this, they would just think I'm a hypocrite. They know me to be a nice guy. And you know, Quincy, he's such a sweetheart. But if they could see me like this, they'd think I'm such a hypocrite and just a pervert. And so I hated myself for it. And I tried so hard with my own willpower to overcome that. And the only thing that helped me was my relationship with God. Because there's a scripture in the Bible that talks about when God forgives us. It says, when he removes our transgressions, it's as if we had never sinned. He departs them as far as the east is from the west. Like they never meet. And I realized like when I ask God for forgiveness, I don't have to keep beating myself up about the mistakes I made. Like I can move on as though I'd never done it. And at first it's like, that doesn't seem fair. That doesn't seem right. Like I messed up. Shame on me for messing up. And it's like, well, that's not how God treats you. You know, when you ask for forgiveness, he's willing to forgive you as if you'd never done it. And so I made a choice, an active choice that I would start believing that. And so the next time I messed up, I would ask God for forgiveness, but I chose to believe that I was forgiven instead of beating myself up. And what changed? I became grateful. Rather than feeling guilty, I started being grateful that God was willing to forgive me, that I didn't have to be ashamed and hate myself. And that gratitude motivated me to draw closer to my relationship with God. And it gave me less of a desire for the things that I was struggling with. And now I can say, getting close to 10 years, I have not struggled with lust. And the only way I overcame it was because of my relationship with God. I don't look at those kind of things anymore. I don't struggle with that temptation to even desire that. I still want a relationship with someone, but there's a difference between lust and love. Lust is selfish. Lust is wanting satisfaction for yourself, and it's never satisfied. It always wants more. That was the problem. It was growing. It was getting worse. But love is unselfish. Love, and when you find love, that's what makes love so special, is because it doesn't always return. And so when it does return, that's when it's really special, because love's not fair. Love, there's people don't have to love you. But when they choose to love you, that's when it's really special. When people choose to return that love, and they're not doing it because they get something out of it, but I love you just because. It's like, that's the greatest thing. And that's the kind of love God has. And that's what I've learned as I've drawn closer to him. So that shaped me. That helped me step and start to become a better version of myself, someone that I wouldn't have to be ashamed of. And there were things I learned about. There are other things in my life I had to complete rather than relying on someone else to complete me. There's this kind of romantic idea of two broken halves making a whole. But the truth is, the healthiest relationships I've seen, the people are already complete in themselves. Like if you can't help yourself, how are you supposed to provide and help somebody else? You don't really have any business being in a relationship if you can't kind of handle yourself. Now, that's not to say that you have to be problem free. That's not what I'm saying there. And yes, having a friend can be helpful, but the point is, sometimes there's things in our lives that if we're expecting the other person to fix that, to cure that we're looking in the wrong place. We've got to learn how to handle those things ourselves, discover that. Again, for me, it was through my relationship with God that helped me fill a lot of the emptiness that I had in my life. And so I do want to be in a relationship, but my happiness, my peace, my joy does not depend on someone else. It doesn't depend on a relationship. I've learned to acquire those things just from my relationship with God. I still want a relationship with someone, but again, it's that just because love. It's not because I need that person to selfishly I need you to make me happy. No, I'm already happy, and I would love to spend the rest of my life being happy with somebody else. That's all it is. There's a different perspective there. It's not trying to fill, putting on someone else to fill a certain need. So that's what shaped me. So I hope there's some value there. I hope there's some lessons learned that kind of helped out. I'm gonna read through the remaining comments here, and then we're gonna put a wrap on this. It's getting late where I am. I got to get home and get to bed. So, but let's see here. Ray was saying, well, the divorce is final, yet we both still care for each other. Simple life is why we got divorced. Yes, I agree, and you and my online friends are my therapists. Solitude can be sad and freeing at the same time. It is. It's kind of funny. I've sort of learned that I don't think there's one happiness, and I don't think there's one sadness. And what I mean by that is there are some parts of my life that I'm very happy. I'm happy. I love making music. I love talking with you guys about this stuff. I love, I enjoy these streams. I love making my music, and I love skateboarding. These are the things that make me happy. But I'm also very alone where I'm at in life. I'm surrounded by plenty of people that love me. Like I've got great people around me, and I love them as well. And I'm thankful for that. They make me happy, but at the same time, they don't really get me. I'm kind of a black sheep, in the mix, like surrounded by a lot of white sheep, and there's just I'm on a different wavelength than most people, and that's a very lonely place to be. And so I think it's actually possible to be happy and lonely at the same time. And when it comes to that relationship, that desire for connection, that is an area of my life where sometimes I feel very sad. I feel very lonely. But that doesn't define all of me. That's not the only area of my life. There are many other areas of my life where I'm very satisfied, very fulfilled, and continuing to strive to better and improve. But that's not to say that there aren't areas of my life that are still challenging or struggling. And so I agree with that. I think solitude can remove the distractions and give you a chance of clarity. But at the same time, it can be a lonely place. Again, it goes back to that lyric that I wrote, then took some time to see if I could make things clearer. It's a lonely drive when there's no one in the passenger seat, It's just acknowledging like I was taking time to fix myself, and that's a hard thing to do, Ray says, as long as I have people to talk to, I'll be good. Well, I'm definitely glad to talk to you. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here for you, Ray. The way you were talking earlier, you make it sound like you didn't have anyone, Ray. Okay, talking to Ray there. So Ray, I would say, yes, that can be very challenging. And what I would say is, as far as your relationship goes, again, take this with a grain of salt, but I think when it comes to relationships, I've actually got some friends who are dealing with a similar thing, who have separation. And I personally think the story's not over yet. I can't say whether or not you two will ever get back together. I can't guarantee that. But what you can do is you can focus on bettering yourself. And ideally, hopefully your ex-wife is focusing on bettering herself. And maybe somewhere down the road, when the time is right, you two will reach a point where maybe it happens again. Maybe it can. But I can't guarantee that. That's one of those things you can't control. But what you can control is you. And that part's always going to hurt, but you can start investing in yourself, start bettering yourself, building yourself up, and overcoming these areas in your life. And I would actually recommend, again, the church I go to has classes, like Wednesday night classes for different age groups. And so they have a parenting class. So for people who are, in relationships and need advice for marriage, they have a young adult class, and like college and career kind of thing. They have youth, and they have an adult class, and all different age groups. And you definitely have to be careful, but going to a church, sometimes churches are a great community to be around. A lot of people who are usually very loving and accepting. And I wouldn't say just pick a random one. You definitely have to kind of try it out and look into it a little bit. But I would just encourage you, like if you need people in your life that can kind of help build you up, if you need like a good circle of people to help you become a better version of yourself, I think a church is a good place to look. So that's what I would recommend, because you do have to be careful, the people you surround yourself with. It's very easy sometimes to surround ourselves with people who kind of keep us where we're at in life. Like they might say things that make us feel good, but they're not helping us better ourselves. And those are the people that you really want in your life, the people that are going to build you up. And so I would recommend just looking for a church. That might be a good place to start with. And yep, Leo's right. We're all here for you. So if you do need friends, you got friends here. But guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I got to put a wrap on this, but I hope you all enjoyed the conversation. And I hope for anyone interested in lyrics, I hope you found it interesting and maybe learned some things that you can apply. I've got a few things to share, and we're going to put a wrap on this. So first off, if you enjoyed the stream and you want me to continue making more content, doing more streams, and putting out more music, I'm posting a link, and this link takes you to a few different ways that you can support my channel and support my music and what I do. And there's multiple ways to support me. My biggest goal right now is just building my audience. So you can do that just from watching my videos, listening to my music, liking the videos, commenting, sharing it, just helping me create more exposure. This creates more opportunity for me to keep doing this, for me to keep bringing music for you guys, to keep doing these live streams. If you enjoy this stuff and you want more of it, and eventually improving the quality of it as well, then supporting my music is a great way to do that. And just by sharing, that really helps. Another thing that helps, if you'd like to support me financially, there's a few ways to do that. There's a tip jar in that link, and I appreciate anyone who's willing to contribute towards that. It definitely helps. But you can also get something. For those of you, I know autumn's coming, it's getting cooler. So if you want to get yourself a beanie or a hoodie, something comfortable to wear, I've got a few items there, and I'm hoping to bring a few more fall themed items as well. And so, you can check out the merch store so you can get yourself something cool and be supporting me at the same time. Also, I have a Bandcamp. You can download my music for free, but if you'd like to again, download my music, but give me a little something for it, that's an option as well. And then my biggest goal is just building my audience. And so if you want to stay up to date, if you want to stay informed in what I'm doing, there's also a link to sign up for my email list. And this allows me to notify you directly so you stay up to date. So whenever I release a new song, again, I'm working on Plastic Cup right now, hoping to release it sometime in early November. So if you want to be notified, like when that song is out, when it's released, the email list is a good way to stay up to date to that. It lets you know whenever I do release new songs or new videos, whenever I do these live streams. And sometimes in those emails, I'll send like some support and some encouragement words and thoughts. So if you just want to, get a word of encouragement from time to time, the email list is a good thing to sign up for. So, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Leo saying this was very interesting indeed. Well, thank you, Leo. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Nuke says it was fun. Nuke, I appreciate you tuning in. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope you all have a wonderful evening or morning, afternoon, night, whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world. Until next time.